Guys, listen up. As you get older, the best way to continue to look young, exuberant, and vibrant is to continue to take care of your skin. That's why I'm excited to have Tige Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. You heard me talk about them before, and you're going to continue to hear me talk about them because I believe in their products and the positive impact that they have on every man's life. Tige Hanley makes taking care of your skin so easy. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing that you don't. Every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Lapeef family, I must admit, skincare wasn't always something I always focused on, but since I started using this system, I've seen improvements in the way my skin looks and feels. And you don't have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 five-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers from around the world. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer, and a PM moisturizer. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tige Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off retail price, the ability to customize your box, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping. And because Tige Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click that first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box plus the free gift. Seriously, that's an amazing deal. Even though it's too early, as I often say, it's never too late. Click that link and get started today. Guys, listen up. As you get older, the best way to continue to look young, exuberant, and vibrant is to continue to take care of your skin. That's why I'm excited to have Tige Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. You heard me talk about them before, and you're going to continue to hear me talk about them because I believe in their products and the positive impact that they have on every man's life. Tige Hanley makes taking care of your skin so easy. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing that you don't. Every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Lapeef family, I must admit, skincare wasn't always something I always focused on, but since I started using this system, I've seen improvements in the way my skin looks and feels. And you don't have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers from around the world. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer, and a PM moisturizer. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tige Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off retail price, the ability to customize your box, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping. And because Tige Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click that first link in the description and you'll get 30% off the first box plus the free gift. Seriously, that's an amazing deal. Even though it's too early, as I often say, it's never too late. Click that link and get started today. What's going on, family? Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sunday. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got the real Precious, Pink in the basement, Penny, Balance, Elise, Austin, Paradise, Paris, myself, and my people JI. Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sundays on the greatest network, the Lapeef Network. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
Hey. Glad to be back on Sunday.
Glad to be.
Happy Sunday, family.
Yeah, happy Sunday.
What's going on, good black people?
Hey.
It's good to see you guys on this Sunday, man. Happy Sunday. I heard some of the folks already getting it cracking. It is Sunday indeed, and you know what that means. It's Lapeef-ing Sunday, a later time, but I think the people are starting to like it, starting to get used to it. Football season coming, you might have to adjust that again. People like their football, so it might be on the early. You might have to do a pre-recording on a Saturday or something. Who knows? Either way, let me see who we got in the chat. Joe Lee, Frenchie, K757. I think I see you in the chat as well. You want to become a part of the Green Gang? Click that link that's pinned to the top of the chat and go green. Shout out to the sponsor, Tige Hanley Uncomplicated Skincare for Men, 30% off along with free gifts. Make sure you guys get that Tige pack, man. It's time for us to get our skin in order. It's better late than never, right? Now go ahead and get it together, man. You can use it over your entire body, including your back. I wasn't expecting to say that when that was straight off the top of the dome. Let's call that a freestyle. Y'all know nothing about that. Feel free to laugh,
The land is just low.
Kind of makes the jokes hit a little different when y'all laugh. But if y'all just sitting there with the stale look and just do a little smirk in it, also we can't hear you on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Austin.
I say you got to help the man land that plane, man.
Yeah, you do.
I'm not good at faking laughs. I can't do it at work. Like,
Making the laugh, Penny.
Hi.
You got to put it. You got to code switch every once in a while at work, don't you? You know what's going on.
No, I can't do it at work either.
You got to let them know something.
It's hard to make me laugh, actually.
Penny's militant with it. She's like,
I'm not really good at it. Like, the fake laugh only lasts like a couple of seconds, and it's like,
she said we had enough.
Silent.
She said we've had enough of this.
I need a new mic stand, man. This Amazon thing is not gonna work for me. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get this show started, man. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is going to be an epic show, in my opinion. We're going to be talking about why marriages fail. In the pre-show, I was just telling the panel how I wanted to walk it through from the beginning. So I did want to start from like dating, the vetting stage, waiting for the right one, leading all the way. I'm looking at these questions that I put in, and I'm like, damn, I worded it incorrectly. But yeah, we're gonna build up to it, and then we're gonna get to the part why marriages fail. If you're looking for YouTube talking points in this discussion, we will not be doing that today. However, I'm pretty sure there are some shows where you can hear plenty of YouTube talking points, but I really wanted to touch the people in a reality that's within their homes. I think it's going to be important to have honest discussion today. Marriage may be the goal for some, and others it may not be, but we will discover that today, and we'll be speaking from both sides. Maybe it may be one side. I don't know. I haven't really screened everybody up into this, but y'all ready to do this?
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wing the entire show just so y'all know. So if you're looking for any structure today, you will not be getting that. They say a prayer. So from my understanding, prayer works. So we're gonna go ahead and get it cracking. So there we go.
A whole pickup game, y'all. Whole pickup game.
Oh,
Your shorts on, and let's go.
So y'all gonna help me? Okay, because y'all helped me with my joke earlier.
Somebody that was very famous on YouTube, Lapeef, said something I still quote from: "We building the plane as we fly it. Therefore, let's get to work."
Okay, I like that. I like that.
I know that's right.
All right. With that being said, I'm gonna ask the people on the panel right now: do you want to be married? Do you want to be married, and if so, why?
Absolutely, without question.
Okay, go ahead, Austin. Since you kicked it off, you want to be married? Why?
Well, for me personally, I grew up in a married household. I have a mother and father that have been married for going on this year will make 32 years. So the reason that I want to be married is because I've seen it work. I understand its effectiveness. As a father myself, one of my greatest regrets at one point in my life was that his mother and I could not get married. But I see that you have to take that sort of information and move forward so that you can create, when you know what the best system is, you try to just replicate it to the best of your ability. Whatever mistakes you make don't matter. When you grow up in a certain system and you watch its effectiveness, one of the biggest things you can try to do is replicate that system.
Okay. What about you, Paradise?
I already got the date. I just need the man.
She said, "You got wait a minute.
You have the date?
I got everything set up. All you need to do is show up and say it's me."
The cart before the horse.
He just got to show up.
He just gotta show up. Be ready to say the vows. He got to come find me.
He got to. So you got the concept set up, but he got to come get you.
Right. He need to be like, she already took this off my plate. Let me go ahead and go get her.
Okay. So you got the date, but okay.
I'm curious. What's the date? What's the date? Is it like a significant date?
Is it significance to it?
I mean, you precious. You know how women is. I ain't gonna tell you my date because you might try to steal my date.
Girl,
And then
hold
on.
Okay, so is there? I ain't one of them people. Okay, I ain't one of them people.
What did you say, nigga?
I got everything. Do you hear me? I know how many people gonna be in it. I know how I'm RSVP the reservation. I want 3 cakes and I need 3 different dresses.
What the hell you gonna do with 3 cakes?
I'm wearing my dress. You not my husband.
Amen.
You're my husband wallet now. God didn't put that on you, Austin.
JR.
That wasn't your calling. That wasn't your calling.
We heard this type of mindset before on the Thursday show, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right.
Coming up in his mind. And you already know.
That's the opposite of that.
What they say? Work. What faith without work is dead. You got to manifest. What the people be saying, the spiritual guys today, they be saying.
God didn't say put the wrong kind of work in. No, you focusing on the wrong thing.
No, I'm not. I ain't.
She said 3 different dresses.
She said 3 different cakes.
Oh, 3 different cakes.
She said 3 different dresses too.
What you got one for the reception, and then what you got one for the wedding, then what you gonna have 2 receptions after the first one?
But that's for her.
All right, Paradise. Hold that thought right there. You got your day. Let me get to some of the other people. Luis, do you want to be married and why?
I do want to be married, and similar to Austin's experience, I come from a 2-parent household. I'm the oldest of 3, and my parents are still married and still together to this day. They're actually both retired and back on the island, and sort of their journey is rather interesting. They've known each other since they were teenagers, and they got together, reconnected when they were in their 20s, and life is beautiful after that. I want to be married because it's important to establish a stable household, you know what I'm saying, and be part of community. I see what community looks like. I see the strength of it, and that cannot operate or work in shambles in a single parent household as well, right? I think that you need that presence, and I understand the power of fatherhood.
All right. Penny, do you want to be married?
Yes, I would love to be married. I come from a household, my mom and stepdad have been together for almost 25 plus years. My stepdad met my mom. She had 5 kids already at the time. He didn't have any. And she proposed to him, actually. And they've been married for 25 plus years. So, yes.
Hold on, say it again. I think I missed that. You said what happened?
My mom proposed to my stepdad, actually.
Oh, I mean, how was that? That's you don't typically hear about that.
Yeah, I have I found out probably about 3 years ago. I found a picture of her proposing to him because I never knew that she proposed to him, but she did. She got down on one knee, proposed to him.
And they've been married ever since?
No, they didn't get married at that time. They actually didn't get married until about maybe like 10 years later. They got married about 10 years later, just by going ahead and get the marriage license. They didn't have like a wedding or anything. And yeah.
So they went to the courthouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you said you saw a picture, she was on bended knee?
Mm-hmm.
And it was for real. It wasn't no joke. Like that was not the proposal.
No.
Now, I just have to ask, if you don't mind, because it's not something that you hear, Penny. Mm-hmm. Did you ever ask her about it? Did she ever explain like what was sort of the because it's not something that you typically hear in the Black community of women proposing to men. Did she ever give you an explanation as to what her rationale was?
No, she didn't. I didn't even ask at that time. I was so shocked by it because I didn't believe, because I know she wanted to get married. And when they got their license, she was the one who told them, like, I want to get married. Now I want us to have the same last name. And so then they got married. I know she, put pressure on for that, but I never knew about her proposing to him to begin with. And, I asked her about it and I was just like, that would never be me. I don't see myself doing that. But, I mean, I would propose to him too. I mean, if I had 5 children, and the kids' fathers were in their lives, and here this man is, and he's willing to take care of me and my children, I would propose to him too. And my stepdad, he's Mexican. I don't know if that's a difference, but he is.
Could be.
And,
Could be.
Yeah, they've been together ever since.
Okay. Would any of the ladies on the panel be partaking in that asking of such?
That actually might be the secret sauce.
I say
you said no, Paradise?
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't propose. I would let you know I'm interested in all aspects.
Okay. And then what about you, Penny? Is that something that you might consider?
I don't think it's something that I would want to do. I think I'm too, I would question whether or not he really wants to be with me if I was the one who, asked him to, be married. I'd be questioning whether it's really real.
Gotcha. Hank in the basement, do you want to be married and why?
Yes, I do. But I find this so funny. I mean, a lot of ladies want this tradition, but they don't want to be traditional. understand, JR. I just don't understand. But look here, yes, I do want to be married, and I will be married here soon. My time is coming. I'm gonna bless a woman with my last name, and then she will be blessed.
That poor lady.
I want to ask
Okay. You wanted to be you. I know.
Yeah, don't do this, Paris.
Hey, so Hank, you said something real interesting. You said I'm gonna bless her with my last name, and then she gonna be blessed. So I have to, JR, if you don't mind, I have to shake the table with a question. I have to, because I'm actually writing like I told y'all in the pre-show, I'm writing a book on marriage for the Black community. In the mentality of today, is one of the reasons that certain marriages are more successful than others is that, because I have this theory, right? We hear women say today, women are the prize, he should be lucky he has me, blah, blah, blah. Is it possible that to make marriage more successful, we need to reverse that correlation, or at least eliminate it entirely, to where both parties are seen as the prize?
No, we actually need to redivert it and make men the priority again. But that's just me personally. And I say that because, right, in our stigma, we've been conditioned to basically like do everything that's self-serving of women, but it's gotten so out of hand to the point where we dominate as a community. So like, happy wife, happy life. And then when you hear things like, you have to train your man, you have to coach him, you have to treat him, it's like everything that is taught in a manipulative form for women to gain control and women to be appeased, because everything in society tells us always respect women. Whether if she's your mom, respect her regardless, whatever she does. But it's okay to disrespect dad if he wasn't around, or if dad did whatever. It's okay to disrespect him. Or we should just always, protect women to some degree. So I definitely think we need to make it to where women, especially Black women, can actually see the value in having Black men. Because if we actually seen how these other women fawn over them in other countries, we probably would scale it back a lot.
Not the passport bros. Oh man.
And it's about order, right? So if there's no strong order, there really isn't going to be a strong community. And so the order starts with the man, starts with God, and then the man. So we do need to reverence men in a different way. We do need to communicate with men in a different way, because it means we respect the order.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point, actually.
Okay. All right, Hank, I know you said you want to be married, but you didn't tell me why.
You said you want to know why I want to be married?
Yeah, the first question was, do you want to be married, and why?
Because I'm looking for that lifetime companion to retire and grow old with, to continue to bless each other with as we get older, and someone to take care of me and for me to take care of her. So that's why I want to do it. My time of making legacy is done. I done made my legacy. She done made her legacy. That's come and gone. So our legacy's already created as far as children. Now it's just about, about what I want. Not about the kids anymore. Kids are grown. It's about what I want now. And so I got to move as such.
I have a question for Hank.
I know you do.
Do you? Okay. So do you think it would be harder to find someone to marry if you didn't have children? Because you wouldn't have to, you would go off of basically how you're living right now as a person, not how you would change if you had children. Do you think it would be easier to find someone?
But are you saying if I didn't have children?
Yeah, if you didn't have children, do you think it's easier now that you have children and she has children to find someone to marry versus if you didn't have children?
No, I don't think so, because my standards wouldn't move any differently. The kids doesn't determine my standards. My standards, what my standards are, and if she doesn't want to follow my standards, or she don't want to ride with my standards, and she doesn't ride with me, she doesn't get blessed. You got to be a part of the deal. You got to be a part of the program. And so I want a woman who's willing to and ready to invest into the program. It has nothing to do with kids, because we know kids are going to eventually grow up and do their own thing. we got to think beyond the kids.
All right. Balance coming to you. Do you want to be married, and if so, why?
I do. But I want to be successfully married, happily married, wealth, health, all those good things in my marriage. I will say, I know that some people here have been married, so I don't choose to marry someone that's already made those vows to someone else. So my goal is to make those vows once and to keep them with whoever chooses me and that I choose back. You know, I want to raise children in a healthy way, have companionship. I think it's the healthy way to live and the healthy way to raise children. So that's the main reasons for me. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you wouldn't be with someone who was already married?
No. So you wouldn't date a divorcee?
No.
Right.
Okay, let me ask. Now, that's such a great point. Not to shake the table again, but
shake it.
It's just, Precious, stop.
Right.
But
hey, look, sometimes we got to beat the bushes, also. Sometimes
okay. Right. Let me Balance. If you don't mind my asking, how old are you now? For context, I'm 27 years old.
I'm a tiny bit older than you, and I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay, so you're a little bit older than I am. At some point now, if you are not married currently, is there any point in which you would be willing to modify that standard? Like, let's just say the men you're dating now, not saying you couldn't find a man that fits your standards, but in the event you didn't, one of the biggest realities in life is that sometimes as we get older, we have to adapt and change our standards if we have not gotten what we say we want. Is that ever a gray area that you'd be willing to modify? If the right man comes along, he has every other characteristic. He's a provider, he's a protector, he does all of the things that you seek in a husband, but his one negative caveat is that he was in fact married in the past but was divorced. Is that something that you'd be willing to modify, or is it a hard no for you?
The right man to me is a man that keeps his vows. So that's the best way I can answer that question. But I also learned to never say never. I can't answer as a 40-year-old woman. Hopefully I never get to that point and not be married. But I will say that the man that I'm currently seeking and that's seeking me, we're going to make those vows to each other, and we've never made them to anyone else. So that's my ultimate goal.
Amen to that. Because the reason I say that is because some men have been out here in these streets. They've been married, and then they kept their vows, but their wife broke the vows by stepping out. So, would you hold him accountable for a marriage that he himself did not?
Absolutely. Because the man is a leader, and then you could tell me what in your leadership made you fail to see the red flags in her. Why would you treat a woman like that?
Wait, what?
That's why I said we need to change.
Hold on now.
How society thinks about everything women, right? There is literally no accountability for us. It's all coddleship. Because if a man creates a family, if the family is successful, he's going to get praised for it being successful. But if she leaves, it don't matter if it was his fault or her fault. It's always his fault because he should have picked a better wife. He started that. He chose that. He was the person who got with her. So it's like, at the end of this, we don't really have all these women are preaching autonomy, or we make our own decisions, or we supposed to be our own boss and I control my life. But at the basis of it, all you're doing is piggyback everything to make a man at fault if it goes wrong.
I want to say this because I understand both sides, but I also respect a man as a leader. So in me doing so, respecting a man as a leader, that means if anything goes right, it's his fault. If anything goes wrong, it's his fault. So I have the balance of respecting the man as a leader, regardless of the outcome. So a lot of people aren't balanced in their thinking, but me, I tend to hold him accountable for however the cookie crumbles.
So I can roll with that. Hold on, Balance. I can roll with that. If you're gonna give me my credit when credit need to be given, hell yeah, I don't have no problem with accepting the downfall when I got to accept the downfall. Okay, I'm cool with that. Now, hopefully you live by what you say. You ain't just talking just for the camera.
I do hate
the issue also 95% of things. What you saying that's cool and all, but what about those women that they also want to be credited? They want praise for when things are going right. And that's the issue, because you didn't speak about that part, Balance. You talking good, but
he didn't ask me that. That wasn't the question.
I know he asked you that, but you saying, hey, I respect the man as a leader, but you saying you're going to give him credit for when things are going great. He gets the blame when things are going great. So when you're not getting praised and you're not getting recognized, we don't need to hear, well, why he ain't say nothing about me, or why ain't like it don't need to be there.
You're right. I'm not that type, but I know there's a lot of them out there.
Well, but see, but that's the thing that makes this sort of a dialogue very, very interesting, because marriage is not, at least I did not see marriage as one-sided. Now, Hank, obviously, a woman is gonna fully subscribe to your program for sure. You're gonna rock with that, you know what I'm saying? But I've never seen marriage as and again, I'm speaking as someone that grew up in that two-parent household. I saw marriage as a legitimate, constant series of communication between mother and father, husband, wife, that kind of thing, where the roles of both people were legitimately equal in my opinion. Yes, my father had, I would say, the quote unquote final say, but the way that you're preaching it is almost as if you are removing your own autonomy and individuality in that situation. Is that what you're doing?
Exactly.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes,
Austin?
directly. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know how many different ways I could answer it, but I respect the man as a leader.
No, but just a yes or no in this instance. The question I'm asking is so specific to where I'm only looking for a yes or no, because based on what you've stated,
okay,
I just want to confirm for everyone in the panel and the audience, are you literally saying that because you put his leadership at the forefront of the thought process, that you are willing to forego your own autonomy to follow the lead of a man?
Your question is biased because you could have both at the same time.
How?
And I can explain it. Like it doesn't have to be where I don't have a say in anything and I don't have a voice in anything and he doesn't respect my opinion. He could be the leader and I could still have all of those things. And we could still come to the outcome of what he says goes as the final say.
But that is an inherent contradiction, because you just said he could be a leader and you can have all those things. So if he tell you not to spend no money on that Birkin bag and you go, that means to tell, based on what you just said, you could still go out and buy that Birkin bag and then he's still the leader. But you did exactly the opposite of what he told you to do. You see how that creates a very dangerous sort of contradiction in terms, you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but that's not what I'm saying.
I guess we all have a different, because even with my parents growing up in a two-parent household, Austin, you was like your parents, they had equality, but then like your dad's last word was still everything. That ain't how it went in my household.
That ain't how it went in mine either.
But let me ask a question.
At the end of the day, my mom, regardless of what the situation was, she didn't do nothing without running it past my daddy. Even when it was decisions she ain't like, she conformed and she took that blind faith and she said, if this what he doing, this what we doing. And if
I got that, but
you have to get with it.
No, I got that. What I'm getting at is in my context is, I want to be clear. What I'm saying is my father was the ultimate head of the household at the end, if it was a tough decision. But there was absolutely, when I was a kid, we grew up having what my father would call family meetings. We would all sit down and have dinner together, right? We would all express whatever the issues were, and my mother, and him included, they would speak to whatever the issues was right there at the dinner table. And if there was a solution that needed to be hashed out, they hashed it out right then and there. So, I mean, there was a legitimate discussion that took place. It wasn't just, my father was authoritative, not authoritarian. There's a massive difference in the leadership styles of those kinds of men. A lot of what Balance was somewhat describing struck more along the lines of straight up militaristic, authoritarian, this is what it is, with no additional input. And that can create somewhat of a, in my honest opinion, a toxic scenario, because I've seen that.
I didn't agree with that either.
You see what I'm saying?
The way it's coming across in translation, I don't necessarily think that she's trying to erase all of her autonomy or her individuality in the relationship. However, the way that she, worded it, it did come off across that way.
Precisely. That's why I asked this question the way I did.
Before you ask that question, let me just get the pressures real quick. Do you want to be married, and why?
Yes, I do. Like Austin, like Paris, Penny, my parents are married. And not only are they married, they adopted me and my brother. So that was a sacrifice in their relationship that I saw, that when I was younger, I didn't see the friction, but as I got older, and not necessarily friction, but the ultimate sacrifice of taking two children and that are not naturally yours. So I saw them come together and work, and have a family structure. Like Austin, my dad, he had the final say. He was a leader. He is a leader. My mom, she worked for a little bit and then she became a housewife, and she took that job very seriously. I saw my dad go back to work, make, or go back to school, make more money to go to work. I just seen that lifestyle. I see how it works. My parents, May, 35 years married. So I just see I've had the example of marriage. I've had the example of a leader, of a man who is going to go out and work, who's going to, go to church and pray, who's going to let you know when you're doing wrong, even when you don't like it. I've lived that. I've lived in that, under that covering. So I know what it looks like. So I definitely want to be married, and I want to be married because I feel like I'm a natural helpmate. I've been on teams all my life. All my life, I've been on a team where I've had a coach or a band instructor or major or someone telling me what the hell to do.
You was in the military, Precious?
Huh?
You was in the military? You said major. You was in the military?
No, like a drum major.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about.
So I've always had someone in front of me telling me what to do. So that doesn't bother me. A lot of women, that bothers. Oh, you ain't gonna tell me what to do. You ain't gonna tell me what to wear. You ain't gonna. But I fall right in line with that because I've been doing that, my whole life. So it doesn't come as a surprise, or, I'd rather do that. Tell me what to do. Give me something to do, So I that's just how I've grown up, how I've lived my life. And even now with working, I go into work and I listen to a boss. So why wouldn't I do that? It just comes natural to me. It's like a plug and play kind of thing with me. So I definitely want to be married, and to be that help me. Honestly, what can I help you with?
I also will add to this, Precious, another thing that I've seen growing up in, a two-parent household. I have seen a man sacrifice and be disciplined. And I don't think we talk about that a lot. We talk about what they give and how they provide, but I've also seen him go without. And that was the best thing that I could have ever seen, like when it came to parenting and making ends meet so you guys can reach your best end goal. When he would step back and say, well, I don't necessarily need this, or I don't have to have this, if this is going to be something my wife wants, or if this is something that my children want, he don't have to have whatever it was to appease him. And we don't have that discussion about men giving up things a lot, because the idea is that women are the ones always over putting and always over, extending themselves.
And it's taught to you too, right? Like, my dad was cheap. We had money, but he was cheap. Like, so it wasn't, if I asked for something and I couldn't get it initially, it, got on my nerves, but I then worked for it. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, you want something, you work for it. I'm not going to give you everything you want. I'm going to give you all your necessities. I'm going to give you everything you need. We didn't want for anything. We took trips. I've been so many places. Discipline is major, and it needs to be shown in households. If you don't see it, God help you. Seriously. If you don't see it, God help you, because I couldn't imagine if I didn't get adopted and where my life would be.
I think it's very interesting. People miss sometimes that when you're a man, the greatest form of love, actually, it's taught. The greatest demonstration of love is sacrifice, especially self-sacrifice. And I think it is an underappreciated quality of the best of men, where they will sacrifice. Like, for example, my dad has a Cutlass that he's had since he was very young. And he's always wanted to get that thing, upgraded and retooled and repainted, but he always put his wants in the back burner for the needs. And he has a saying that I'll never forget. He said, you got to give them everything that they need and some of what they want. But they got to have everything that they need. That's the forefront. And I'll never forget when he said that. And I think that is an underrated quality. And I would argue the most underrated quality of the best of men.
All right. Like, I know Luis had a question. I just want to throw some in there real quick. Men, how do you feel? Well, the women can chime in on this too. But how do you feel with the last name being hyphenated?
Nope, I want your last name. I want your last name. I want yours.
No, that's right. Look at Matt. If I'm blessing you by putting a ring on it, you damn sure you're gonna take my last name, or you're gonna keep that last name of your maiden name, whatever it is. You won't be married by me. He's not married. He's not. I'm not going for this hyphenated Jada Pinkett Smith shit. We're not doing this. You gonna get my last name, or you gonna like it, and enjoy the benefits of it, because it comes with benefits. I promise you.
Now I know that, like, I know that balance was asked. Was there any gray area, wiggle room? Is there any wiggle room with that at all? He, you know, say
No,
just
no,
okay.
No wiggle room. She's not gonna be blessed. It's hyphenated. No, again, a lot of these ladies, they want that traditional man, but you're not willing to be a traditional type woman. You want to hyphenate shit. That's that modern woman shit. And I'm not with it. Give me an old fashioned woman. A woman who's gonna be ready to ride and get on the team, man. Hell no hyphenated here, JR.
Is there anybody on the panel that will support it for any reason?
I mean, okay. My mother took my daddy's last name. So for me, and this could be a generational thing, I don't know that it's a absolute hard no for me. I don't mind the hyphenated, because by technicality, I don't care if your last name is Alexander Broughton or Johnson Broughton, whatever. My last name is still by technicality your last name. So I don't, I don't see it quite. I don't see it quite the same. It does make, Hank has a very, very, very valid point. It's really a symbolic thing. When a woman takes a man's last name, it's symbolic of you're no longer your father's problem, you my problem. So I absolutely don't disagree. But for me personally, there's a slight amount of give that I'm open to, whereas Hank is just a hard no. But I absolutely understand and could not disagree with really none of the man's points. That's purely personal preference, I think.
Okay.
I've had the pleasure of working amongst the Asian community and stuff like that, and it culturally for them, the women keep their dad's last name. So a lot of times you will see them where they are married. However, their actual surname is a lot different than their husband's, and that's just a part of their culture. And coming over here to America, when they do integrate into our society, some of them they adopt a traditionalized fashion of taking their husband's last name, but a lot of them hyphenate. So when we talk traditionalism, I just think that it would have to be, what tradition are you more so trying to cater yourself to? Because for me, I don't know nothing else aside from dropping my dad's name and taking my man. But other women now have decided to do it for different reasons, because of the fact of education, because of the fact of their job, or I've had a woman in a professional field, and she told me she was being lazy about doing it because it cost too much, and everything that she had done when she was going to change over, it was going to take way too much time, and she was in the process of doing something else, and that was just going to be quote unquote a disruption. But it is what it is. I think people should fight about who name they want in their own household, because I know what I'm gonna do.
Well, look, fortunate for me, I'm not marrying an Asian woman, or Indian woman, or pale ass white woman. I'm marrying a beautiful black woman, and that black woman is going to be blessed with my last name. Ain't no negotiation. Ain't no talking about we ain't got the money. If it means I got to go and borrow money from my daddy, I get a loan to get that name changed on the license, on the house or whatever, at the bank, whatever we need to do, we're going to do that. We're not coming up with no goddamn lazy ass excuse. I'll take a week off if we take a week to do all of these things. So be it. Social Security office, we going there. We doing all that, but it's going to get changed, because that's what you get married into.
Understood. Hank was very direct and clear on that. Luis, you had a question?
Yeah, my question was kind of along the premise of what Balance had brought up earlier. And I wanted to ask the ladies on the panel, if you are engaged, married, whatever scenario, and your husband or person, notice that there's an issue or a problem, right? Or something came up in the moment, and he elected to address it and take care of it, but he didn't tell you about what the issue was. Do you want them to tell you what it is when it happens, or after the fact? Are you making the decision
I guess it would
together?
be. I guess it would be situational, but ultimately, you want to be with someone who can get it done. Ultimately, you want to be with someone where it's like, I know he good with making this decision. It'd be nice if he, considers me. You know what I mean? It'd be nice. It'd be nice. But if he can get it done, you don't have to tell me when it happened. You can tell me after it happened. I think sometimes we get so caught up in knowing things in a certain time. And honestly, for women, the less you know, the better. Honestly, that's how I feel. Like, I don't want to know everything. I don't, because I don't want my mental spaces and pockets being occupied with thoughts that I shouldn't be wrestling with.
I don't care.
I don't. I gotta put it in his hands. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at some point you gotta surrender, knowing everything, because it will mess you up, really. You want to be able to trust them and say, you know what, you got it. What happened, babe? What happened? That last week? Oh, you got it taken care of? Okay, cool. We good. I think it's situational, but for most of the situations, he should be okay with handling it without me having to always be up in what's going on.
I want to know. I'm nosy. I want to know. So something going on. Tell me.
Thank you for being
I would
real,
like to
Penny.
know,
Thank you for being real, Penny.
about it, or I'm probably gonna find out about it anyways. So if something going on when I'm cleaning up, what is this? No, I'm cleaning up.
You
want to
check your
know.
pockets, ain't you?
If I'm washing the clothes,
check your pockets
I'm
for real,
supposed to check the pockets before I mess up the
Hey,
clothes.
boy. Penny sleeping through that goddamn phone.
Oh,
No, I mean, it depends on, as far as the boundaries go, of course, you're going to know your boundaries from the person that you're talking to. So if that person doesn't, want you going through their phone or doesn't want
you ain't got no boundary.
know
Don't sit there and
something,
tell a lie.
that's what you have to do.
She
But
lying.
me,
She lying.
I want to know.
Yeah.
If it's
Now she talking about she got boundaries. She said, I want to know.
I want to know.
Penny gonna
I
be
got you, Penny, but you gonna do whatever you gotta do to find out, though.
Penny
You
gonna
said
be
you
tight.
search your pockets.
Penny gonna
You
be
shaking
the
bushes.
Penny gonna be the
You
type.
calling up his buddies.
Barbara, this is Shirley.
Barbara, this is Shirley. Yeah,
you talking to his
barber?
I
mean, I don't know. I'm just that way, Of course, if it's comes to a concern where it's like, I need some, privacy. I need some boundaries, of course, But for me, I want to know, like, what happened at work? Like, who said what? I want to know.
Would you say that that's a trust issue, or is it? I mean, give the people like a little bit more insight as to why you want to know. Why do you want to know?
I think that's a woman
thing. I don't think it's a trust issue either, because I want to know things that happen in my family lives too. If something happened with my sister, I'm like, what happened? Something with my mom, my dad, I want to know. Problems that come about, I want to know about it. I don't think it's anything about me not trusting you at all, but if you see it that way and it affects you that way, then yeah, it matters, but I'm a nosy person. If something's happening outside, I'm going outside to see, what's happening.
She said, I want to be in the midst.
Penny won't know all the tea.
That's a woman thing, though. I think you really have to train. I think that's a woman thing to a certain extent. I don't want to just pin it on women, but more women would want to know. It's like that suspense, and you have to really train yourself. Like, I'm not even going to, direct my thought. Like I had to do that for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I had to do that for me. Where it's just like, I can't think about that, because if I think about it, or if I know it is going to, it may interrupt the pattern of my temperament, and I just don't need that, or I don't have time for that. I think women, we do have to sometimes put on blinders. We do, because I think it gets the best of us sometimes knowing too much.
Yeah, I think he can decide, whether or not he wants to disclose that to me. And if he doesn't, and I just don't find out about it, then I don't find out about it. Or if I want to know something and he'll be like, I got it, then I take it for what it is, But initially, yeah, I want to know. Like, if he's thinking in his mind, should I tell her or not? I'm letting you know, beforehand, I want to know. So yeah, tell her.
Okay. I think Luis wanted Paris to respond to.
I'm in the middle. And the only reason why I'm in the middle is because little hyper independent me, I have reservations about anybody doing anything for me on my behalf. However, I also I do. I've always, even in team segments, I've always led. I've just always been a natural leader, and that was just something bred in me from a kid. So when other people are doing things, I have the bad habit of going back behind them as the little perfectionist I am to make sure that they did it right. I will call, I would check in, I would check up, I do it. So I also don't have an issue with like getting a man that I just like trust his judgment. So that's why I'm kind of in the middle. It would really be situational based off of what it is that we are making or he is making the decision on, because don't go spend no money without my consideration. I don't care what it is. Don't you take no money out this house. But if you're talking about something that you felt on a contingency of like the kids or something like that, go ahead. Go ahead. You're supposed to be able to do that anyway. But don't go spend no money at this house without me.
Said Daddy always on duty.
This is the part that makes it so interesting. Like I appreciate everybody's feedback, and this is the part that's so interesting. And the reason why I elected to bring this example is because I personally had asked this question not that long ago. I brought up a scenario. I was like, let's say for hypothetical, we are married. You know what I'm saying? I am home and a pipe bursts and it's leaking water. You are at work. I am there presently. Do you prefer that I call you and tell you what is happening and we make a decision, or do you feel confident and competent I will take care of it?
Well, that's not what I meant in regards to money.
You know what I'm saying? And sort
that's
of this
not
is
what I meant in regards to the money.
Luis, that's extreme.
No. Let's be very honest though. Life be sometimes. Life be life in the car sometimes fucks up. There's something at the house that breaks or needs a repair. You know what I'm saying? There's always these, extreme circumstances that happen. Life be lifing. You know what I'm saying?
But that's not what I meant in regards to money.
No. But I'm not talking about in regards to money. My concern is not about money. My premise is about hierarchy.
I don't care.
My position on the matter is hierarchy. I simply asked, do you feel confident and competent that person will take care of that urgent matter in the present moment? Or are you going to sit there and be rock, paper, scissors, shoot with your person to try to delegate like, yes, let's do this and let's do this when there's an urgent matter? And that's the part that I
Precious, you chomping at the bit over there. What?
Because it's like, just get it done. Like, it needs to be. Why are you calling me? Like, it just needs to be done.
Like, if you something happened around the house, something happened with the car, go do it, boy. Not boy, but go do it. Go get it done.
What did you say, nigga?
If you call me,
don't take it personal. That's my vernacular. That's how I talk. That's just my language.
Nah, that ain't how you roll here. You don't call no man a boy.
I don't tell other people how
it's really giving.
I ain't gonna lie.
This is the thing about it. It's really giving. Let me go ask my wife for permission.
Other than that, my main issue with money is don't have people from your family or people who you
all up in your business
borrowing money, and now you want to go give them money and you don't want to discuss that with me. Don't do that. But everything else in house, if it needs to be done, go do it.
Get it done.
I don't care.
Yeah. I feel that.
See, now I got to question some shit now, Press. You said the man ain't allowed to do anything, make no moves without telling you. Then you gonna call and say, boy, go on and do it. What the hell? Come on now. I mean, what we doing?
Hey, she's just a woman. You know how they talk. They just talking.
No. I don't understand. You can never mistake a man for a boy. You looking straight at him, you call him a boy.
You're not gonna police how I talk.
No, I'm not. You're right, because I'm not with you. I'm not blessed. You're not blessed by me.
All right, y'all. Let's go and get back on track here. Let's go.
You are correct.
Hey.
Even on accident.
Hold on, family. Let's go and get back to this marriage talk.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, let's go back to this marriage talk. I do want to transition, and I want to talk about the vetting stage. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because if we looking to sustain a happy, successful marriage, we have to go back to the beginning. I mean, I want to build up to why marriages fail. So, what are we doing when it comes to vetting? Some of the people are on a dating market scene right now. What's going on? Like, what can we analyze? What can we look into? What can we do a deep dive so that we can have better vetting, so that we don't have to get to the point where there's a separation?
And before the vetting, people need to know themselves. I know it sounds cliche-ish or a talking point, whatever y'all want to call it, but this is what I talk about all the time. Really being hot, honest, open, and transparent. And before you can do that with anybody else, you have to do that with yourself. And when and I know it's easier said than done, but to explain it, doing that with yourself means your failures, you're not looking at them as setbacks. You're looking at them as setups. So a lot of people take their failures and they will get down and out about it. They won't continue to pursue whatever their passion is. They may get broken up with and be like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Time and time again, you're having the same experience per se. Well, sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back and really do a deep dive within yourself so that when you get to the vetting stage, you know exactly what your boundaries are. Because again, it always starts with you before somebody else. Because we're going to get to the conversation in the end. But at the end of the day, to me, it's like, were you really being real to yourself? Or were you doing something because other people wanted you to do it? Were you doing something because you felt like you had a deadline? Were you doing something because you didn't want to disappoint family because they love them, but you don't? They can tolerate them, but you can't. But because you don't want to disappoint, because you don't want to take back the save the dates, you're going to go through with this. So I think with the vetting stage, we have to really be honest with ourselves and know what we can take, what we can't take, what our boundaries are, where we're willing to go with someone, knowing that in every season, there's probably going to be a change. Are you going to be able to withstand it? Are you going to have that with that person? Because you may be able to withstand it, but maybe just not with that person.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to know that until you really know yourself. Because I think we rush into a lot of things. So I think the vetting stage is very important, but we have to first vet ourselves on and be real with it.
I agree with that 100%.
I think that's when I add on the vetting stage.
I think that the greatest problem that I've noticed is that people place too much of an importance on trying to screw something too quickly. We out here in the vetting stage is looking for lust, not love. I've always said that when you look at the way that my generation moves, so that 25 to 35 age range, for women, they're trying to get the most out of men while giving up the least. Very few women today are willing to commit to good men a lot of times because they want to play the field at a young age. That's what happens. And then when you look at the way men operate, it's the same thing from a different, two sides of the same coin. And that is one of the greatest issues that I'm seeing. We're not prioritizing actually getting to know somebody for their internal characteristics. We're just trying to know who we can who we can sleep with the fastest. That is, I think, the greatest issue. And we're not actually understanding what marriage looks like. Marriage is about duty. It's not about, do I like this person in that moment? We live in such a microwave, instantaneous gratification society that we don't realize there are some days in marriage where you ain't gonna like this person. You're not going to be able to tolerate this individual's little quirks and quips all the damn time. And marriage is about the ability to push through that. I think, frankly, our generation has because we didn't grow up with it, we don't properly know what we're looking for because we didn't have it in our own households in the overall majority of Black families. So, how can you fault somebody for not knowing what to look for when they didn't even have a standard upon which to base anything?
Well said, Austin. I agree with everything you just said. I wanted to ask you, how many years were you married?
No, I'm not married yet. My mother and father have been married for 32, going on 33 years this year.
I thought you were previously married, no?
No, previously considered marriage and I'm a father, but that relationship did not work. But like I was saying earlier, I said I want to be married, and I'm looking to fulfill that promise to myself. I said I would never produce any more children out of wedlock, and I've kept that promise so far. So I'm gonna keep up with that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I agree with everything you just said. I just wanted to add on because, oh, what's up, humble dad? So I wanna add on because I coach women, but occasionally men book me. So I've coached men, but way more women. But every time I've coached a man that had an issue with a woman, he's always told me that she either cheated, she's just not a good woman, something of the sorts. And I always go back to the beginning when he met her. And every single time the man says, well, she did this, but he ignored those red flags. So he knew that she had these red flags from the very beginning, and he still ignored it. So we know women do this, but I just want to say men do it as well. They look at a woman's beauty and they're just mesmerized, and she could be the worst person.
I'm a living testimony to that.
A lot of dudes are conditioned to ignore red flags in the beginning. It's like, oh, she's a little bit hard, but we can work through that. Oh, she's a little bit this, but we can work through that. There's always something to kind of throw. It's like, it's not too bad. I think I could deal with it. I could overlook that. But in reality, these are hallmarks that you should be like, okay, this is an issue. This is going to be a potential issue. And I know this is definitely an issue. And I should probably consider, severing ties with this person. But unfortunately, a lot of men do have this like don't want to quit, don't want to like give up. And it's like, well, I haven't really gotten to know the person and kind of get through that veil, right? And they think that once they do that, all these red flags that they initially saw in the very beginning, they'll just poof, disappear. But in reality, that's not, that's not what's going to happen, and I can speak to credence to that because I've also been in that same circumstance myself, because I've ignored it. And I was like, that's not too bad, or this and that. But unfortunately, it did come back to haunt me, and sort of that's a lesson learned, right, in that example. So unfortunately, a lot of men in the early phases do tend to collect a lot of red flags.
And I think you have to add this in as well to be very quick. Most men, in black, white, Asian, does not matter. Most men do not emotionally mature until ages 52 to 56. So when you examine that data and you look at that, when you look at that factual data, you then look at how black men are raised in our community. Unfortunately, en masse, we are taught that there is a connection between the amount of women you sleep with and your manhood. So we're not in our vetting stage. We are not looking to actually learn the characteristics of this woman that we're dealing with en masse to determine if she's actually a fit for us. We're looking at how quickly can I get into your drawers. Don't nobody want to admit that, but the facts prove the point.
You say 53. This is
52 to 56.
Like sometimes I get along with you, and sometimes you say stuff like that, and I just want to.
Well, I will send you the article.
I don't care if you came up with one story that you.
No, it's not one. It's not. It is not one. It's not one. There are. This has been multiply attested.
I don't care.
Right. Hey, you can go look at Dr.
52, Austin, for real. You want to send me that link too.
Precious. Dr. Jordan Peterson has talked about this.
Yeah, put it in the back chat.
There have been a series. I will post that in the chat. I'm not gonna say nothing that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm too young not to know what I'm too young not to have some facts.
And that was in relation to emotional intelligence,
and emotional connectedness in relationships. It was
okay,
very
connectedness. I can understand.
Yes. I will send y'all that. Because when I read it, I was like, it was sent to me by a good friend of mine from Clubhouse. When I saw it, I thought it was bullshit. I was like, there's no way this is true. There's no.
So Hank, you're not there yet, right? You're not there yet. We're not there.
I guess not.
All right. What's going on, HD? Does anybody want to add any value to the conversation when it comes to the vetting stage? Because I do have another question I want to pose to the panel as well.
I just think that we don't know how to date. We don't know how to properly date. I just don't believe that women specifically, black women specifically, I don't believe we know how to properly date, because that's not something we're taught. More times often than not, we're taught to stay away from men. We're taught to prioritize everything and everybody else. Like growing up, you'll have a black girl who will have a baby in her hand before she's even really taught a skill of how to learn basic, house skills. And it even down to the baby dolls. We practice parenting far more sooner than we practice interrelations.
Shit, in 2023, these women can't cook, let alone vet up for a man. It's some bullshit out here now for some of these dudes. I feel for them. I feel for people like my son who has to pick through these crazy ass efforts. He deserves better. But thank God he got a father in his life like me that's gonna teach him. And we're gonna figure this shit out.
All right.
I think the one thing that's definitely missing, what's up to the panel? Thanks for having me, JR. I think the thing that's missing is that there is not a connection to Christ personally. I think everybody are giving very superficial type of answers when in fact marriage was designed and created by Almighty God. And so if you are out of alignment with who created marriage, then you're already set for failure, right? So individuals are, I think it was Dr. Julio. I agree with that statement for sure. Men and women oftentimes are dating for the purpose of having sex, not to have a marriage. And so when you go into a relationship already thinking the negative of things, then it's going to be doomed in the beginning. So I would definitely challenge people to see what marriage is from the person, the being that created it, and then look at it from that particular perspective. And then from there, as far as vetting is concerned, are you vetting to have a relationship, or are you vetting to date, or are you vetting to be married? Like all of those are different. And so if you're vetting to be married, then you need to be in a position of being ready to be married, right? And so then if there's somebody that is not wanting to be married, then you need to leave them alone. And so I'll just say right there on that one.
That's what I was going to say.
What would you also... Go ahead, Precious. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You have a question for him. I don't have a question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask this to the panel, but specifically Humble Dad. What would you say today? What is the foundation of the Black community overall? What is the foundation?
What's the foundation?
If you met someone for the first time who has never experienced Black culture, and they asked you specifically, what is the foundation of your community?
Who's asking? Because I don't really want to put us in a negative light. Like if I'm talking to a Black person that's just coming, then I'm gonna say something probably totally different than if I'm talking to somebody.
Let's say it's that. What would you say? What would be your response?
I would say the culture is definitely self-absorbed. Everybody's concerned about themselves most oftentimes, and so if it doesn't suit me, then I got to leave it alone. But at the same time, there are things that are detrimental to us, but we're okay with it as long as it affects us in a way that we want to be affected. So I give you a case in point. So, I mean, most people know that sex outside of marriage is not good, but because it feels good to the flesh, then I'm gonna override what it is that I know to be right to do. Right, so that's a selfishness, right? I'm including myself in the diagnosis that I'm saying, and then not only that, okay, so music is very influential. Everybody knows that, right? Because you'll say something like, "Man, this DJ is whack," right? Why did you say the DJ is whack? Because the music that he or she is playing is not moving you in a way that wants you to be there, right? And so that's another part of being selfish. Even though they know that music affects them, they're not stopping from listening to the trash that's out there, right? These people continue to make music or movies or whatever the case may be. So overall, I would say selfishness. But that's the context in which I would say it, though.
I do have a question, and this is just kind of like to the panel. If marriage is not the end goal, then what is? Especially when you're doing all the other sectors of a relationship that entail marriage, like things.
See, that's the problem.
That's the problem with relationships. There's no goal, there's no plan, there's no, what are we doing? I know a lot of people that are just together, living together, and I'm like, okay, so y'all gonna get married, and there is no real plan. There's the momentary, they're taking care of me for now, or we're just doing this for now. And I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live, in a relationship where there is no end goal. I think a lot of people with this vetting stage, they get with people to heal parts of them that only Jesus can heal. I always say it on my channel all the time. Only Jesus saves. I can't save you. I can't save you. I can't do anything to heal you from not cutting you. I can't do anything to, I can help you, but you already have to already be on that road to recovery. You have to, have already put that initiative into work, into play. And I think a lot of people get with people to heal parts of them that they don't want to take the time to heal themselves and vet themselves, knowing that they're hurt by that. They get triggered by this. And so instead of healing themselves, they go into the next relationship and they getting hurt and triggered by the same things. They having sex and they're layering, they're layering their triggers instead of healing it and being in control of their emotions.
Yeah, but that right there, Paris, what you said is the issue too. You said, if marriage is the end goal, and marriage is not the end goal, it's only the beginning. That right there is the beginning, which ushers a new chapter and a new journey. You know what I'm saying? If we're viewing it as the end goal, then it's already ended before it has even begun. And sort of, I think it becomes a negative connotation to think, okay, like we're here, we're just at the altar. We said I do. All right, we just check, right? As opposed to thinking about it, okay, this is going to be the beginning of a beautiful life. You know what I'm saying? We have so many things ahead of us, right? And I think that looking at it from that perspective, like this is the end goal, it feels more of a checkbox rather than a lived experience with someone else.
Well, that goes back into what we are taught to prioritize. I love what Humble Dad said, is that where when you look at marriage, what are you looking for? But the problem with what he's saying is, and it's not a problem for me because I see the world the way he does from that perspective. You mentioned the word or the name Christ, and people are instantaneously turned off, and they're instantaneously they're pushed away from it, like the Pharisees. The problem is people don't want, especially in our community, we have this real hatred of the authentic truth. We run around here calling each other kings and queens. I'm sorry, where in the hell do you see a king without a kingdom, without a castle? Where do you see that? We are the most narcissistic, and I'm gonna say it. We operate with the high degree of narcissism in the Black community. You said it much more nicer than I did, Humble Dad, when you said we're self-absorbed. Bullshit. We are flat out narcissists, and narcissist with nothing to show for it in mass. Right? We still rank. If you look at the incomes, for example, of Indian American households, $100,000. White American households between $70,000 to $60,000 I'm talking about median income. We sit at the lowest economic level because we're dominated by single parent households, but run around here talking about we kings and queens. Kings and queens of what as a culture? I'm not saying we can't do better, but if we're going to really want to grow, somebody got to be willing to snatch this Band-Aid off and tell the truth and we got to stop putting sugar on the shit because it's not going to help us. You do not solve any problem at the same level of thinking that you are at when the problem arose. If you ain't willing to grow in here, men first, women following afterwards, we're going to stay in the same rut we've been in for the past, as Malcolm X say, past 244 years. We live in a culture where we got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, you know what, it's our fault. We got to accept the charges. This ain't the era of blame somebody else no more. Ain't none of us picked no cotton. Ain't none of us done anything that our ancestors really had to go through. Now we live in the age of the internet. There is no way, no reason, no rhyme, no nothing why we can't get the bag and get our community on track as a group of men first, women second. I refuse to live in that mindset of mediocrity. I cannot do that.
The internet, the plantation for some of these people. I'm telling you, that's where they picking it.
That's a fact.
So then I had this question on my show as well. Like, well, then who needs to adjust first, right? Because it's very much, in my opinion, women need to adjust first, because you all decide, well, women in general decide the dating pool, what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? You all say yes or no to sex. You all say yes or no who's going to be dating who, right? So, I mean, and then not only that, you also have women that pedestalize the women that are single parents, like Keke Palmer, who else? Rihanna, right? I mean, this is Black women that are doing this. I'm not saying it's y'all, but that's they are put on a pedestal, right? Not the LeBron James' wife. She's not really talked about much. When she is should be definitely looked at as somebody that's doing it well. Denzel Washington's wife, you know what I'm saying? These people are not praised enough right? And so marriage is also not praised enough, but single motherhood is, and it's typically done by Black women. And so, how do you change the fact that Black women would prefer to have their hot girl summer in their 20s, and then but then you also have them saying, I want my career before I want my relationships or marriage. But then on the flip side, you have men on the internet saying, you know what, you need to smash as many women as you can, or you need to wait till you get the bag and then find you somebody, right? So there's this thing that I read. It's a book. It's right here. It's called "Is Marriage for White People?"
Dr. Ralph Richard Banks.
You got it, right?
And
then, and then in there, it's called "Is Marriage for White People?"
Yeah.
No, I was going to say something, but I want to cut you off. So,
I'm gonna finish. I'll drop it right here. In there, it says that Black men that make over $100,000 a year are less likely to be married. What you have than white men, and I don't know why we connect to. We always have to compare it to white people, but whatever the case may be. And white men that make over $100,000 are double the time, double times to get married.
Yeah.
Right? So and somebody asked the question of why. It's because they have Black men are well desired by, especially wealthy Black men are well desired by everybody in the world. So and most Black women don't want to compete. And I mean, it sounds like a talking point, but that's just what it is.
Let's just.
One of the things. Lou, was you talking?
No, go ahead, Hank. I'll go.
No, but what one of the thing is we like Humble Dad was saying, and I can agree with that part about really promoting these women who are married and really pushing the message out there. But we also need these married couples to be willing to come out and talk about life like what it is being married, the good as well as the bad. You know, it's one thing you always promoting saying the good all the time and making it sound good, but then you're not being completely honest, because there is a downside. There are some bad days. There's going to be some tough days. Needs to be talked about. Needs to be shared. So I know going in what I got to look forward to for these young people who are on the fence on getting married or are just staying single. We need to start promoting them, but we also need the married people be willing to be honest and be open and like an open book and be upfront with it. That it has to be. And I'm all about promoting these people. I'm all about promoting marriage. I'm for it. Now, there was a time I'll say, F marriage. I'm not doing it again. I went through hell and high waters. I don't want to do it again. Now, thank God I got a different mindset. I had to get therapy to get in that mind frame to even think about doing it again. And now I'm willing to do it again. But we need more married couples out here pushing it. They can't just be in the shadows talking about, yeah. But we need you out there pushing it, though.
I do want to add to what Humble Dad said, too, because he did ask who needs to make the changes first. And I think it should be everybody. You know, I think both men and women have a job to do. So you always start with policing yourself, trying to figure out what it is that you can do as an individual to contribute to making it better within your household. And then maybe that energy or that example would be looked at differently. And just to add on to Hink's point too, there's not a lot of people that's talking about it, but sometimes you got to go seek those answers. Sometimes if you got questions about it, you know, look around you. And if you don't have those people around you, then you need to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, like you, or either going in the same direction that you are going in. But sometimes you got to ask questions. You know, how is it? You know, how long have y'all been married? You know, what are some of the issues that y'all run into? How did y'all resolve it? Has there ever been a time where you wanted to walk out? You know, when things got challenging, just ask questions. So if it's not coming to you or you don't see it directly, because some people just may not be in the media like that, you know, or they may not be, you know, following Christ. And so you're looking for Christians that are married and how they handle things. You just got to go seek. You got to put yourself in position, because there are conversations that are being had, but you just may be in the wrong place. So sometimes you got to step outside your comfort zone and just start getting involved in what it is that you want to be surrounded by.
I want to
Sometimes that's an investment.
For a different
we also got to be willing to listen to non-believers as well. I know we try to push them out like they don't exist, but they're out here, and it is what it is. They're out here. We also got to be willing to listen to them. I want to take different aspect. That's just like, man, you just need to listen to black people. Like, no, if a white man could give me the information, I'm going to this white man. This Asian man can give me the information, I'm gonna get it from him. It doesn't matter. I need to eat. Feed me what I need to be fed, man. I don't care who's gonna make it. As long as it's good and I can benefit from it, it can help me and my future wife's relationship, I need that. Doesn't matter whether you're a believer or you're a non-believer. So we can't just push them out. I understand, some people just don't like to roll with. But guess what? If they got a successful marriage and they got the answers, I'm gonna take it.
Well, I offer a slightly different opinion
to the conversation as well, and just say this: when you talk about like who needs to make the changes, we pose that collectively, almost as asking Black people when we gonna come together. It's no such thing as a collective group making one big change and then everybody else falling into the domino effect. And I think we like to have that perception, but the reality is you have to practice what you believe, not practice what you preach, because you can say anything, but you actually have to practice what you believe. You have to be able to step in front of it. Like Austin mentioned, he don't want to bring no more illegitimate children into the world, or when we are utilizing our platforms and we have these voices. And I do want to say Rihanna's actually not a single mom, but Keke Palmer is promoting single motherhood. And we don't see Savannah because Savannah is really in the field. She really sitting at the games with her kids when her husband can't be there and he at training camps. She's really sitting there being a wife, a mother, a friend. She's trying to do the things that it takes. And I agree, we should see more of it. Beyonce don't talk, but I would love to see her talk more about what life looks like, balancing being a mom and being a wife as adjacent to her being this talented being or doing interviews, et cetera, et cetera. We see all of that. But typically married people, through the good, bad, or the ugly, they've never been just outside loud and proud talking about their marital woes. We've seen it with Derrick Jackson, and look what happened. And anytime married couples start talking about their marital woes, like on our own network, we start seeing all these people who propagate their relationship. And when it starts to unravel, then people start to become non-believers. Then people start to get discouraged. And they're already having dating issues. And then they're seeing married people going through it. And then it's just a further discouragement. But then when you get people who post online like Harry Garner, or you get other couples who are posting them married happy all the time, people go, oh, that's fake. Y'all ain't happy every day. And you could just never win. So I do think it's good to show it. I do think that we need to get more people to talk about it. The same way people are loud and proud about how their dating issues are. We definitely need to have more married couples who are discussing the ups, the downs, the ins and outs, and things and tools that they're using. But the reality is people are not drawn to that because the masses are saying there's no purpose to it.
And that further makes me feel like our Black community is trashed in. We're drawn to the most bullshit, the most toxic shit. I mean, that's like a gambler. Only thing he's gonna talk about is his wins. He's not gonna talk about how much he lost $1 million last year in bets, but he's gonna tell about that $5 million he hit on that Terrence Crawford fight last night. No,
but it's so ironic because we do that in our culture, in our society. We only focus on the end result of the progress we've made, but not the process in and of itself. We don't understand the importance and the necessity of having to go through the fire. I always use this example when I had these conversations, not to make it not to get too religious in this, but it proves the point. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they went before Nebuchadnezzar, they could have very well been afraid. They could have been very afraid to be thrown into that fiery furnace because he straight up said, look, if you don't worship this golden image, I'm going to throw your ass in this fire and it's over with for you. But they had enough faith in following that which is right to go through the fire. And then the amazing thing that happens in that particular story is that 3 men was thrown in there, but a fourth was found, right? And I think where people make the greatest mistake is we don't have enough faith to trust ourselves. It goes back to something Precious mentioned earlier, that if you haven't gotten yourself together, What the hell makes you think you qualified to walk or move with anybody else? You have to have some sort of internal resolve. A Jewish rabbi, the late Joshua Liebman, wrote a book many years ago entitled Peace of Mind. And in that book, he has a chapter entitled Love Thyself Properly. And what he says in substance is, in one sentence, before you can love any other self adequately, you have to learn and master the love of self properly. We don't do that. We've done it in a narcissistic way. But even when Jesus says, love thy neighbor as thyself, that means if you ain't eating the best food and you know better than to do it and you're not, if you ain't working out like you're supposed to and you know to do it, you're showing that you're not really qualified for the things you claim you're after. And that's how we move in the Black community.
I do want to kind of switch it up. I do want to switch it up a little bit. Go ahead, Paradise, and I'm gonna switch it up.
Don't you think that's problematic too, that we keep trying to make people qualify for marriage?
No, you should have to qualify. You should have to qualify for marriage because you have to self-qualify first. You have to know what you want, and then you have to qualify your partners. Everybody ain't qualified to be with everybody else. For example, I got a politic. Don't come to me thinking that I'm going to pay you any attention and you weigh as much as Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith. Don't do that because I go to the gym 4 times a week.
Well,
so you want to, but I'm saying in a general, no. All of it's connected, Paradise. All of it, because it absolutely is. From the physical to the mental. Like for me, my politic is I will not marry you if you are a Muslim or if we do not have the same religious view and if you're not open to it. I used to be an atheist. So I'll take that if you open to the discussion and evidence. Otherwise, you are not qualified to come over this way. You're not qualified. Don't nobody want to say that. But at the end of the day, women have standards that they set.
That's a boundary.
They have a boundary. Women listen, there's a famous song. I'm going to say this and be done. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is gonna get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Guess what? That's her standard. However stupid it might sound, doesn't matter. Jordan Peterson, again, I love quoting from this man. If a woman doesn't choose you, she's right. You're wrong. They're right. It's the same principle when men do it to women. If he tells you you are too unintelligent, you are too big, you are too whatever the hell, dating is the ultimate subjective game. You have absolutely zero authority to tell any man or woman what is good for them. Nobody can tell anybody.
I guess the disconnect here, Austin, is you're saying qualifications and we treat people like, job applications, which I get, like you go through a filtering process and you set your standards, right? But the end goal is marriage, and all across the board, we're saying people need to be married. All across the board, we're saying Black people need to get more attracted to the beginning goal, like Louis said, of marriage. But my thing is, it's like, why are we making marriage the pre-qualifier as opposed to your standards of your person to marry? That's why I'm having a disconnect. Like,
because we don't get
right. Marriage is something everybody should have access to. But just because I wouldn't marry you or you wouldn't marry me, don't mean I don't qualify to be married. That's what
You qualify. But we're gonna be real adults about this conversation. Everybody qualifies to get married to somebody. Right.
So we can stop there because that was my point.
Statistically, that's not true.
No, but hold on. Let me get. Everybody qualifies to get married to somebody in theory. But see, in theory, we all qualify once we hit 35 to be the president of the United States. Once you hit 35 and you're born in this country, theoretically, we all qualify to run. If you lived in the U.S. 14 years, 35 years old, all that fancy jazz. But we know realistically, some of you Negroes is unqualified to ever hold political office. Some of you women is unqualified to ever tell men any damn thing about marriage. And some of us is absolutely unqualified to tell you jack shit about what do you think a man is qualified to tell you about how to have a child? Hell no.
I do.
Oh shit! Come on, Paradise. You come on now. What? Look, where my damn sound?
Don't he make it with me? Why he got to be out of the conversation?
What did you say, nigga?
Come on, man. What right
now? Hey, man, you gotta say that to me, man. You gotta say that to me.
Oh, I got you, Hank. I got you, brother. You know what it is. You know what that was. What was that? Stanford and Son. You know it. But here's the Paradise. How the hell am I qualified to tell you how to have a child, baby? I'm qualified to tell, and I'm a daddy. I watched my son being born. I don't know jack shit about the process that went into that. I don't know nothing about her cravings, about her hormone imbalance. I don't know nothing about that. All I know is
you're talking about being pregnant.
We're talking about
talking
two
about being
different
pregnant.
No, I'm talking about the
Okay,
whole gamut.
kinda
I'm talking about the
going-
whole gamut. I'm talking about the entirety of the situation. When it comes to dating, when it comes to anything in life, theoretically, you may qualify, but realistically, some of y'all gonna fall short. It's a whole lot of women that I don't qualify for, and I can say that. It's a whole lot of women that do not and never will qualify for me, because if you don't want to do the work, you are losing the qualifications. Period. That's what the real meaning of the quote is. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than it is to have an opportunity and not be prepared. That's the real meaning of that quote. If you fail to do the work, you will be you should be fearful of the lack of results. Michael Jordan tells us that. Kobe Bryant tells us that. Anybody that has done anything worthwhile on this planet has told us that. Even Jesus told us that. He said, it is to sit on my right hand and on my left. It's not even mine to give. It shall be given unto them for whom it is prepared. If you ain't prepared, you in despair. You did what I'm saying? That's it. There's nothing else.
All right, I do want to switch it up a little bit. Get some of these people involved too. Perry Unlikely 499 says marriage is like owning a home. Everybody wants it, but doesn't understand the cost to upkeep it. Also, jumping in the streets too fast is how to fail. We also had Tay Biz TV says much love to the panel with the 199, also a member. I want to thank the people that's contributed. Again, shout out to the sponsor, Teach Hanley Uncomplicated Skincare for Men, 30% off alone. A free gift. That link is in the description, so make sure you go ahead and get that Teach pack. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and continue this conversation. You want to become part of Green Gang? The link is pinned to the top of the chat. I do want to briefly, I know we got a full panel, so everybody don't have to respond. I want to kind of keep the discussion going. I do want to get to the people that haven't spoken, like Penny, Luis, Precious Balance. Let me try to get them involved in this next conversation. But speaking of conversation and vetting, what I've noticed is that there's not a lot of great conversations that's happening, right? It's not a lot of great conversations that's happening in the vetting process. And even throughout the marriage. I was just out to eat with my son, and when you look around, you see people just sitting there. They're looking miserable for some reason, and they eat together. They're out, but they're not. There's nothing happening. They're just sitting there. So for the people that's watching, and even we can learn on the panel, including myself, because I was unaware. Sometimes you have those talkers that would just talk about themselves, and they would look at that as having a conversation, but some people just don't have nothing to talk about. And then you got the person that just talks all the time. Some people really don't know their partner. Even they married them, but they don't even know who this person really is. They don't know anything about the childhood. They don't even know how they became to be the person they are today. They don't even know what traumas they have. So how can we have great conversations? I mean, really getting to know the person, in your opinion? And I'll go ahead and go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. And JR, where you were talking about, I saw so much when I used to serve and bartend. You have people, married couples that sit across from each other, don't talk. They're on their phones. Or even when I go out to eat, you look over and there's no action at their table. They're literally just waiting for their food to come. I mean, you see it with all age groups. I can't really say it's a certain age group. And I think that that's because people aren't intentional about communicating. People aren't intentional about getting to know each other. I think the card games are beneficial because that's how you intentionally get to know someone. A lot of people are making these card games. Too Deep is one of the first card games that I saw that were intentional conversations where you're literally sitting across from one another and asking each other deep, thought-provoking, probing questions. And there's, there's dating, there's healing, there's different subjects, but you have to be intentional about that because that's where we lose the art of communication. That's where we lose the art of articulation. You lose it if you don't use it. And a lot of people really don't realize that because then when you come across a stumbling block, it's like, or you're assuming that the other person is going to say something or bring it up or, try to make amends. And you're both just sitting there waiting for each other instead of someone taking the intentionality out of communication and putting it in the forefront of your relationship. And I think a lot of times it's a double Dutch, thing. Who's going to jump in? And you just have to take it. You have to be that person. And if you're the more communicative person, you know, don't assume that the other person don't want to talk. Don't communicate. You just have to do it. You have to do it no matter how hard you think it is, or if you're not doing it, you have to be intentional about it, because it helps when the hard times come, everybody not sitting around tight-lipped. So I would say do it in a way of the card games or games, whether they're not card games or not, but where you're asking each other questions. Come up with questions on your own and your note and your notepad. I do that all the time. I'll come up with questions and I'll just put them in my notes, because it's something that's important. It's something that should be communicated about. And if I don't communicate it, I have no one to blame but myself. I always say you miss 100%, or I was taught this in basketball. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I'm
You
sorry,
miss them.
Precious. Say that one more again.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so if you're not going to ask that question, if you're not going to be, you know, intentional and curious, then you'll never know. And then your mind will run crazy with false realities. And again, you have no one to blame but yourself. So you have to be intentional about these conversations.
All right, let me get Penny, Balance, and Luis in there.
I think I would say when you're out eating, don't ask personal questions. Don't go deep when you're eating. If you go out to eat, have fun, enjoy yourself, have light conversations. But I think those deep conversations, if you want to, you know, set up time to have those deep conversations, because if you're getting to know someone, those questions can go way left and you're out. And I see a lot of couples when they are out and they are upset with each other and they're not looking at each other because they done had a conversation where they, you know, went left and now they don't want to even talk to each other. So I say have those conversations at home, or, you know, create a dating space where it's just both of you guys together alone and you can have those deep conversations. And I think going into it, looking and thinking that everything is going to look the same. Because when you do have those deep conversations and you do find out that someone, something that happened to someone or they've experienced something that you disagree with, and you automatically write them off, that's kind of the reason why some people don't want to tell people their business, because they would rather keep that to themselves than have someone judge them for it. So I just think not jumping the gun and thinking that everything's going to look exactly how you want it to look. And really being open to understanding what that person past looks like. And if they do open up to you, be open for them to change and the time that it takes for them to change.
All right. Go ahead, Balance.
Can you hear me pretty good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was going to say communication and emotional intelligence are skills that you can develop. I've said this before, but I'm going to keep saying it because people just think people just know how to do things, especially if they haven't seen it growing up. They've never seen it in a healthy manner. They don't know what they're doing. So I don't think it's that they choose not to or they're refusing to. They don't know how. They've never seen it before, especially not in a healthy way. It's either it wasn't in their house at all or it was extremely unhealthy. There's no balance. That's it. So a lot of times, if you know how to do it, help somebody. Like, it's not, I don't think it's as complicated as we're making it. And when it comes to dating, I'm a big fan of doing active things. I don't really like dinner dates and just sitting there eating, looking at each other all the time, because you're eating, your mouth is full. You can't really have a conversation in that atmosphere. It's just odd. Especially if music's going, the neighbor can hear what you're talking about and they can hear your childhood trauma and you don't want to talk about that. It's odd. So if you're going to talk about it, do an activity together, something, go rock climbing, I don't care, go hiking, do something fun where you can walk and talk and get to know each other. And Penny, I actually think it's good to find out early if you can relate to this person, if you understand this person, if they're damaged. And that sounds so bad, but you know what? I'm going to be honest. If this person is too damaged to even date right now, like, they probably shouldn't be. And I think the sooner you find that out, the better. And then you can move on and let that person get their therapy and work on themselves and work on their self-love and all those things. And you on to the next one. So that's how I feel about it.
Hey, Balance, you said that some people may not have grown up around it and seen it, don't know how to do it. What is something that you can give the people as to what they can do to learn how to start a conversation, to keep a conversation going, to go deep?
Yeah, so, okay, with communication, I think that a lot of times there's always a misunderstanding because we communicate differently. we communicate the way our families taught us to, right? So you have to learn that person's communication style. And if you want to use YouTube, use it for things like that. Research communication styles. Research those things instead of Keke Palmer. So I think people need to use their free time to actually learn something on YouTube and not just trying to entertain themselves all the time. Because even with emotional intelligence, there are thousands of videos on YouTube that can teach you emotional intelligence. Not only will it help you relate to people better, it'll help you at work. It'll help you communicate with your family, with your children. But we want to talk about Keke Palmer. So I just wish people would take the time to educate yourself. Self-education is the best education. I say that all the time. I know Austin is an avid reader as well. So read a book. It's not even as complex as we make it. You know what I mean? So if we're doing those things and educating ourselves, then we could be the best partner for whoever we're dating, right?
You know, well, you know what they say, but if you black folk, if you want to hire something, put it in the book. All of that. That's a, you know
now.
You know what they say about these Negroes. You want to hire something from a Negro, put it in a book.
I also want to say with the communication,
shout out to Uncle Ruckus.
It goes back to knowing and vetting yourself, right? So with communication, if you have a passion or you have something that you like, you have to, be full throttle in pursuing that, because you're going to have to ask people questions. You're going to have to ask people for help. You're going to, so communication should be a part of even you setting yourself up with other people in a non-sexual way, or in a non-romantic way, or in a so I think that, again, when we're able to, invest in ourselves, maybe you have to go to a seminar where you have to be in groups and training and things like that. When you work in corporate America, that's all part of training and getting to the next level. So, but if you don't work in corporate America, you don't have a job like that, you don't have access to it. And so even things like that, going to local trainings or local leadership meetings in your community, so you're able to have the words. I always tell people to extend their vocabulary. You're able to have the words by going somewhere where people are using words that you don't usually use, or talking about things that you don't usually talk about with your, unit of friends, and you're well versed. And you have a little bit more of a broad perspective on things too.
All right, let me go ahead and get Luis in there.
Yeah, I really like what Balancing the Real Precious just shared. You guys really, really brought it home. One of the things that I'm going to highlight is that, people are just going through the motions. If we're going to be very honest, I think a lot of people are just kind of going through the motions and going through this very mundane process. Dinner has become a space and place and time where people become so consumed and inundated with their phones that they can't let it go for an hour and a half to converse and share ideas, passions, projects, where you're heading, the things that you're starting to kind of read or learn about yourself and share that with someone else, right? It's an opportunity to kind of really express yourself. And I think that has been robbed because people are too stuck at their phones. And in the example that, both of you gave, sometimes people are too far consumed that they're not even present in the moment. And I think that the pandemic did an excellent job of showing you all the people who actually did a great job of not vetting and actually getting to know their person. Because what happens when you remove everything and you have to be indoors 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for at least 1 year with your person that you've elected to live with, marry, sleep with, etc., right? And you come to find out when you spend more moments or time together alone, discussing things in a deeper level, discussing things on a deeper emotional level, right? Where I never knew that about you. I didn't get the sense that your grandmother's passing really hurt you. I didn't understand that, you don't prefer to be addressed this way. There's a lot of things that are revealed when people are sitting in the same space for long periods of time, they're forced to actually converse and have conversations about uncomfortable things because they tend to come up. No longer you are inundated with, oh, I'm at work, I'm busy, I'm taking the commute, I'm in traffic and all this thing. Are you gotten, do you have dinner ready? And then we spend 15 minutes and then a shower, let's watch a movie, maybe sex, and then go to sleep, rinse, wash, and repeat, right? But where is the real communication? Where's that real understanding of really, immersing yourself into that person? And I think that's really been robbed by, the hustle and bustle in the day-to-day life. People forgot about date nights. You know what I'm saying? You should still date your person even if you're married. You should still go out to dinner. You should still do movie night. You should still do, an adventurous, 2-day weekend getaway. It doesn't have to be on a boat or yacht. You have to catch planes. You can just do something, get out of the city. Or if you don't live in the city, go into the city, go experience things, allow different perspectives and idea to enter your relationship so you have more to talk about and more substance to add back into your life. And unfortunately, people rob themselves of that opportunity because they're too far busy looking down as opposed to looking forward into the future of what their relationship is heading. And a lot of people are crashing out because of that. They're crashing out in their day-to-day life, not only at work, but they're also crashing out in in their family spaces as well. How they communicate not only with their partner, but also with their kids and also with the people in their who are in there in community with. And sort of, this is really one of those moments where people need to really invest in themselves, just like Balance had brought up, people need to invest in themselves, really, really invest in themselves, take the time, and even if you're in a relationship and you've come to the realization that you didn't do that prior to getting this in relationship, be the leader and take the initiative and say, hey, I think this is a great opportunity for both us to do some self-improvement. And I think that I can lay out a blueprint of how we're going to do that. And then you lay that out and you both do it together. You can't say that you need to invest in yourself and you need to fix yourself. No, do it together so you both have a vested interest. Are you?
All right. I do want to continue with the conversation a little bit. And again, for the sake of time, I want to kind of get through some of this stuff. So we'll go around and get to the people that didn't speak just now. I want to play this clip. I want to get a response from you guys. The clip is three brothers. They were asked, how will life be once you're married? I want you guys to hear their responses. Here we go.
You feel would change in your relationships if and when you become married?
Honestly, I don't see much changing at all. What will change is people's perspective on us. They may hold us to a higher standard, a higher regard. But in terms of the way that Candace and I operate within our relationship, we already operate like we're married.
I think once I'm able to call someone my wife, I just feel innately a different responsibility over the woman that has my last name. It's no longer she could just leave me and then it just fizzle out. Now it's just like, yo, you got to really consider the implications of leaving someone. That's another element that changes. Documents start coming in. Now everything, as far as the government goes, you guys are one now. So that requires a different type of approach to things.
For me, when we get married, vision just becomes clear. I think there now is a clear North Star created on, this is how we're doing things. This is what we're working toward. And the underlining aspects of like, I may not have trusted that, or I didn't know what you meant by that. Those things get cleared up a little bit more.
All right. Just going to go ahead and kind of break this down. I think this was important too, in the outlook, because we were discussing earlier that I don't think a lot of people even really know what all the marriage entails. But you see it and you see the act of how they're doing it, but I don't really think people had a full understanding of what changes, like what it's really about. So I kind of want to get you guys talking about that, just so the audience and even people on the panel.
I mean, it's obviously hard to as far as it relates to marriage, to know all the things that go into it because you haven't experienced it, because it has to be something that, it's kind of like a job. I mean, it's a job that you are going to, You may be excited about going, but you don't know all the variables that entail in this job, right? Or even liking it to something. I can't remember. It was another situation. Oh, being a parent. You know, like if you thought about, oh man, I can't wait till I become a parent, and then you become one, things are not as what you may have thought they were. I mean, you can plan, but this doesn't mean it's going to go accordingly. Like for me, I understand being married. Those that don't know, I lost my first wife a couple years ago, and now I'm in a new marriage. And so prior to being married, it wasn't a lot of. I didn't have to focus on her bills. She had to focus on her bills. Just so example, she didn't necessarily have to focus on my kids. I didn't really have to focus on her kid. But bringing it all together and talking about it beforehand, what the ideal may be, you know, some of those things are going very well, and others we're still working on because it didn't go accordingly to what we thought it was. But that doesn't mean that we're going to fizzle out. It just means that, okay, what we thought it was going to be, we got to make an adjustment. So I think that's what people don't necessarily understand about marriage. Marriage is a journey, and marriage is about understanding that both people are going to change. Both people are going to have a different perspective on things. And as the man, from the man's perspective, the man needs to also understand that that your wife has a role to play as it relates to being a part of the decision making. You know, I know y'all was talking about that before, something like that, but what has worked for me is that making her a part of the decision making, and then obviously, hopefully, that you're going to have the last say, but she's included in the decision, right? And so that comes with the part of being very communicative. If you were not communicative before your marriage, man, it's going to be very tough being inside the marriage not being communicated, because that is what has been talked about, that least that's the number one reason why people get a divorce is lack of communication. So, and I'll just land right there.
Let me say this real quick. I gotta step away for a moment. I think that was beautifully said, Humble Dad. One of the things I want to add to what you just said, I think it's focus. I think once you're married, you become much more focused because you're not balancing multiple other women or men, whichever gender specific. You're not juggling multiple people. You're not juggling responsibilities that are outside of that union. You're not prioritizing other people that are outside of your union. And sort of, I find that if you are married, you tend to be much more focused. And I want to bring up something that Trigger Mike brought up a while ago. After the NBA had finished, they talked about how not men who have won the finals are in the 90 percentile are married. You know why? Because they are more focused. They are more disciplined and more structured and more focused. You know what I'm saying? When you understand your assignment and you understand what the end goal is, you are more focused, right? You have that partner that's in your corner, making sure that you are focused, making sure that you got things done, that they're your helpmate and they'll help you delegate things, right? You're also probably eating better because you're not eating out, and sort of your health gets better because you're not eating out and you're having a balanced meal at home, right? Your sense of peace and serenity is much more intact as opposed to you allowing other outside forces and pressures to incade, you know what I'm saying, your home, your castle, right? And that's the boundaries that are usually set. And sort of, I think that there are a lot of great things that come with it, but a lot of people don't know what that looks like from the outside looking in until you have much more deeper conversations about what they look like on a day-to-day basis. And I'll with that, step away.
Yeah, that's true. Also, like you find where even in the job arena, men are given more incentives to be married. And it just kind of like one of those things that it goes along even with women too, in regards to having children or being married. Once you have a family, you are looked at for promotions. They do tend to treat those people with a biases and stuff like that. But it literally shows in statistics, society is just respecting people who are married more. Like you're held to a different standard. So I think it's a beautiful thing if we actually knew the benefits of it and we actually were to adapt ourselves to the benefits, because it's one thing to attach your name to your famous cousin, but it's another when you're able to say, well, your husband or your wife is this prestigious individual within your community and they make great strides. It looks completely different then when you're creating a family name. And, you know, if anything comes up where your child needs to be in a certain situation, they get a little bit more of a boost because people know who you are from it and they know who their other parent is from it and they know that they quote unquote come from a good family.
I would say even if they're not prominent, I'll just real quick, even if it's not prominent, even if they are middle class, people are looked at differently when they're married, period. It doesn't have to be a prestige of any sort. Because I can think of some people that don't have necessarily money and finance or do things in the community, but their marriage is seen as something to be aspired to. And I think they're probably 35, maybe younger, a little something like that. And they teach marriage class, right? So that's one thing that they do, but it's only in a small setting.
I think life is much easier.
They also tend to show you a little bit more respect. You look at as being more respectful, more honorable and admirable for having that. But I know I think when somebody said is the difference between a single marriage, it wouldn't be that much difference. No, that's a big difference because you can pretty much go on the fly. Marriage, you can't just go off the fly and do shit and move off the whim like you could when you were single. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. You have to plan everything out, especially with your finances. That is a must, especially if you're having kids. You and your wife are having kids. You can't just go off the fly because you're not only affecting yourself, you're affecting your wife and whatever amount of children you may have. So no, it's a big difference. I don't even know why my man said it wouldn't be no difference. Oh yes, sir. There's a big difference.
For me, I think it would be easier.
Let me finish up real fast. I'm sorry, baby.
Go ahead.
Another thing is you can't just leave just when things are getting rough. There's no easy exit plan in a marriage. It's not say, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna move out, and no, it's not, because you have too many other factors that's relying on you, and you don't want to just quit your family. Now, I'm speaking from a man's perspective now. Men just don't just want to just pick up and leave family because they realize they've been victims of single parenthoods. They've been victim of growing up with a single mother and how that affects them as a person, and they know the effects of how it is a child. So, go ahead, Penny. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think it would be easier, especially being single and wanting to be more organized in life. And when you find a partner that you're married to, or that you're just dating, someone that you're just dating first, and you start, cooking, cleaning, you want to make, reservations, you want to make plans, for the future that you can't make yet because you're not married. And I think wanting to do those things, and now you can't do those things. I think once you get married, it'll be some weight lifted off you, knowing that you have that authority to say so. To do so. So I think it'll be easier for a person who, wants to be married and see themselves, being married in this lifetime for me.
I think it's like what I said earlier. How will life be once you're married? It's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be a selfless act. And I think that you have to be with someone that you're willing to be selfless with, that you're willing to count the cost with and say, hey, look, I know I may want this, or I'm used to this, or I enjoy my alone time and I can enjoy my alone time with you in the room and we don't have to talk. I think it's a balance of being okay with the sacrifice, really coming to terms that you will have to sacrifice things. And it's not for, it's not so you won't have them, but sometimes you're not going to have everything you want when you want it in a marriage, like you will when you're single in your singleness. In your singleness, you come and go when you want, you do what you want, you buy what you want. In some cases, people eat what they want, right? But when you're in a union with someone, you're going to have to give some of those things up. You're going to have to, I always use this pivot. You're going to have to pivot. And we use that in business, right? There are going to be times where you pivot. I think Humble Dad said it in business, you know, you it's going to change. You know, you go in one way, you're expecting something, and then, hey, you might get new general managers or new CEOs or whatever. And so they want a whole nother change in the company. You have people that will be okay with the change and that can go along with the change. And then you have people that's like, I ain't doing that. I've been at this company for 30 years. I'm currently going through that. I've been at this company for 30 years. They don't care about us. They're not really, they don't care about our well-being, but things have to change. So in order for things to change, you're going to have to sacrifice. We got to go back in the office. People got a problem with that. It's like before COVID, we were in the office. So why y'all complaining about it now? That's because they don't want to change. They don't want to leave home now in their comfort zone to go back in the office. One lady worked right down the street. She took a lesser job position so she could stay at home. She works 5 minutes from the job.
I will also say another thing that comes with it is the extreme behaviors that people have. Because when you're single, you're self-absorbed. You're really not too much prioritizing nobody. You don't necessarily care about, what anybody else got going on. It's all about you. But then when you get into a companionship or some form of partnership, it's automatically you're demanding. I need to talk to you now. I need to talk to you all the time. And why haven't you talked to me? Because if you ain't talking to me, you must be doing something else and you're talking to somebody else. And it's like there has to be some type of balance with this extreme measure of attention and attachment that you get into relationships, because eventually you're going to start running out of stuff to talk about regardless. Eventually you start knowing a person 3, 5, 8 years, you go, well, I almost know everything about you now, So at that point, we really do have to keep a little bit more mystery and a little bit more, I would say, how do you put it? We have to be able to balance out people still giving people their space, but also still allowing them to leverage to, be share with them and talk to them. Because in retrospect, before cell phones, whatever it is that happened, you had to wait till you get back home to tell your partner.
I would say, and also you'll find out what's your if you have a posture of forgiveness, because being in a marriage, being in a relationship, that's where you kind of sidetrack or step aside of the red flags, if you will, because you're like, oh, okay, I can deal with that, but I can always leave, at some particular point in time, as opposed to in a marriage, right? If you didn't address that red flag once you're in the marriage, now you definitely have to address it. And are you going to forgive that person? Are you going to move past it? Are you going to communicate with them? And I'm blessed to have a wife that is very forgiving. She forgives very quickly, no matter the argument and how extreme it may be. Not that we had a lot, but just saying that if we reach a point of disagreement and we are at odds with one another, if you will, she wants to get to mediation as quick as possible. So, and that's something that I'm learning, is to be able to push past my feelings and still begin to, and continue to love her, even though I may have just had a disagreement with her. So I would say men and women need to have a posture of forgiveness, because that'll definitely help you out. You'll find out for sure in a marriage. Did you really forgive that person, or was you just holding on to it?
Humble Dad.
You're blessed to have.
Oh yeah,
you're blessed to have someone who forgives quickly, because women don't usually forgive quickly. And then with her doing that is teaching you to actually get there at a quicker rate. You know what I mean? And I think it's usually the other way around. Women be waiting for men to get to the point of forgiveness, and men done moved on, or, you're thinking about something else, and a woman is staying there in that emotional state. So I think it is a good trait. And I've said this before, to forgive quickly. I think that's you definitely have a blessing if you have someone that's able to overlook things for the greater good, knowing that there's a bigger picture.
Humble, I was going to ask, what are you doing to be able to get back on the same level with her, where you're able to let go of how you feel about an argument and meet her where she's at with understanding?
I have to remember the scriptures. Forgiving 7 times 70 And then also that, I like hugging on her. You know what I'm saying? So like if I'm going to get to the point of where it's a legitimate point of me wanting to be in her presence, then I got to push past whatever I'm feeling. It's going to be, and feelings are temporary. And then when in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what did I do to cause what it was in which she feels the way she feels, right? Or thinks the way she thinks. And then I take accountability if it was something for me, right? And if it was on her, then I wait for her to show me that she's ready to move past it. So her, one of the things she may do, maybe a lot of women do, they'll try to initiate a conversation, right, to let you know that that she's cool with it. So for me, that's what I do. I wait for her if it was on her, and then if it's on me, I self-internalize what I did wrong, and then I apologize. My mentor, speaking of race thing, you were talking about wherever the good comes from, it don't matter the race. My mentor, he's been married 55 years. He's an Asian dude. And we talk every Monday morning at about 6 to 7 o'clock. And we talk about marriage and life and things of that nature. And the one thing that he told me that's helped me out well is to ask for forgiveness. Also tell her that you love her, and just move forward from that. And ask her, do you forgive me? And make sure that you don't just, what's the word? I think it's, try to justify what you did that was wrong. That's what I learned. Don't try to justify what you did that was wrong. Go ahead and just apologize for making her feel that way. And these are the steps that I'm going to look forward to try to do something different next time and avoid this particular conversation. So hopefully that answers the question. That's the long way around it.
And humbly, I can agree with you. I mean, it's like when I do what I do. I make sure regardless of where she's at, even if she's still frustrated, I definitely make sure I want to apologize for my part, whatever I did. If it was something I said to trigger the argument or to trigger her emotions, I want to make sure my side of the street is clean. Now, if she's ready to accept it, that's on her. Now she's got to get herself together. But I did what I need to do to make it right within my heart. Make it right within a safe relationship. And most of the times, y'all ladies, y'all know, y'all end up feeling guilty. Like, damn, now you done put me on the spot. I got to make a decision, even though they may not be ready for it. Okay, I forgive you. Okay, I'm sorry. And it depends on if you gonna be an asshole. Like, damn, baby, I can't even take it because the way you said it. You could do that and continue the argument and argue, turn it to a different type of argument, and it's not worth it. At the end of the day, it's not worth it. Take her for where she is. She'll make some self-correction if she's a good woman. Now, if you got some more scallywag and you're in a different type of trouble. But if she's a good woman, she'll recognize what she did wrong, even though it may come off in a not so nice way as you're looking for. She'll go back and she'll think about it, and she more than likely she'll come back maybe an hour or two later. Yeah, I didn't like the way I apologized to you, and it wasn't very sincere. And if you're gonna be honest, I could tell my heart wasn't in the right place when I did, but I want to apologize now and come to you with a soft heart, and apologize in the right way.
I think it's a good note, real quick, like for women to actually say the words, I apologize. I know it's hard for most women, but men really appreciate when y'all do that, to say, that's my bad, as opposed to let me start this conversation so he knows that I'm sorry, or go make him a dinner or something like that. But if you say the words, I apologize, just like y'all want to hear it, men want to hear it as well.
It's hard for men to say that too, or to even realize that they are wrong. So I guess the answer is the question is what if you have a man that takes a long time to realize that he is wrong in a situation, and you have to be the one that always come to him and explain it to him until he gets it several times.
Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Which I don't want to make it seem like, if you do have a man that way, that's a bad man, because a lot of men are that way. But if you do find yourself, with someone that you have to always, say, how would you feel if I did this? And how would you feel? And then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I apologize. Then the next time something comes up, you got to explain it to them again, about something different, though. Just a man that takes a long time to realize that he's wrong in a situation.
When you say long time, what do you mean? Like a couple hours?
I mean, it
Or
could be a
dating?
couple of hours because sometimes,
Penny want to know. She want to know. Penny want to know.
all arguments, you don't want him to take hours to figure out that he's wrong, and some you just like, okay.
But
You know
sometimes sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes
but
we
not
need
every time.
sometimes it happens that way though, Penny. You got to be patient. So sometimes we still process it. We just got done with the argument. Now we still process it. Now we think about, damn, what did I say? Man, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this. I wanted to say this, but I'm so frustrated. I was so heated because y'all slick with y'all tongue. So we just be lucky to get a word or two in. So, and then when we do, it might was, there was a gut shot for y'all. No, we really didn't mean it. So now we're processing. We think about what we said. Yeah, I'm gonna have to apologize for that. And now I'm thinking about, okay, did I say it in a bad tone and she just didn't like it? Or was it just a straight out bad choice of words? We're processing all of that stuff. And will it take a couple hours? Maybe, depending on the person.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't say that's a long time. Now, if it takes a day or two, yeah, you're right.
I mean, some men take a day or two, depending on what they're upset about.
Is there any way that you can give an example? Because that's very vague, though. You know what I'm saying? It's very
an example
vague
of
to
an
say.
argument, or like
like an example of an argument that it was his fault. It don't have to be necessarily total, but like give us some context, if you can, because I've interviewed a lot of dudes, right? And I have dads specifically, and they're typically on the line of apologizing. You're saying, so you're coming from a position that's not the case. So help me be able to know what's the context.
Let me see. Like, I can give a personal example. I'll say driving, right? Me and my boyfriend, we argue about driving all the time. He doesn't like to drive, but when he does drive, he's more of that everybody should be doing the right thing when they're driving. No one should mess up. Everyone should be in their lane. And so when he asks me to drive, I'll say, okay, if I'm driving, you can't say anything in the passenger seat. Don't tell me how to turn. Don't tell me anything. Just sit back and relax. But when I'm driving, he noticed all the wrong things that I'm doing about driving. And then when he drives, he does wrong things. And when I say, oh, you've done something wrong, he's like, no, that was that other person's fault. And so we'll argue about those things, about the way that he's coming at me about how I'm driving. And then when I try to get him to understand, like, everybody messes up when driving. He does too. He doesn't realize that he messes up. So when I'm upset about it, he won't say, I'm sorry for yelling at you about driving. He'll just be, mad about it. And then it'll take him a couple of hours to realize like he was too harsh on my driving.
I will also say,
let Paradise go. Go ahead, Paradise.
I will also say, when you talk about men like apologizing, I think the issue here is that we want, speaking from experience, I want to be very verbal and intricate about what the issue is, instead of just getting straight to the point of you hurt my feelings. I be talking to help you understand, like, this is exactly what it was, not this miscommunication of what you think you did. And I think a lot of times when speaking to certain men, they don't receive that well because, like Balance was saying, communication is an adaptative skill. You have to adapt to how other people talk. And I typically find myself involved with men who are not very vocal. They communicate, they say what they got to say, but it's very clear and they done with it. They straight to the point. And I think that's where I'm understanding where Penny is coming from. Like, it do take y'all time to say you're sorry. You may say it, but it may take also beating a dead horse if you just sick of hearing my mouth to do it.
I think with men and saying that it takes them a while to be vocal, I think with majority of men, that's a given, right? I think that's a given.
So give them that pressure. They're not gonna give us that. We can't give them that.
Well, everybody has a part to play. Okay, everybody has a part to play. So it's not for me to say, oh, well, he's not gonna give me that, so I'm not going. No, we can't operate like that. So it has to be, I'm gonna drive. right? You're going to drive and he's going to be in the passenger seat and he's going to be saying all these things to you. You don't do this, don't do that. You know, I think a lot of times we have to take time to learn our men. And so, you know, that he's going to take a little bit of time to get back to you.
Oh,
You
I
know
do
that,
know.
right?
I do know.
So
But
does
I
it
don't
continue
accept
to
it.
okay, so you don't accept it, right? You don't
No.
receive it as a woman. So are you gonna leave him?
No.
Right. So
He's
there's a
gonna
way.
have
So,
to learn like I'm
so
gonna learn.
right, but it's patience in the relationship, right?
Mhm.
So the next time we drive, he say something, you know what, you're right, babe. Let me not. You know, you have to like work with a man. It's like a dance. And we can't always, you know, be like, oh, well, when you drive, you do this and that. But when I drive, you want to say something. It's like, you know, you're gonna say something. So you gotta kill him with your kindness and with your femininity.
Even when I do that. Even when I do that.
Man, I don't believe that.
I'm telling you, even when I do that, even when because I've actually apologized to him about my driving.
It's a journey. And so sometimes we as women teach men without even saying you need to do this. The way that we posture ourselves teaches men how to be with us. And I know what you're saying. It's irritating. It's, you know, you tired of it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that those were the words verbatim that we go by, but I'm not going to say, when I say, like, I've apologized about the way that I drive. I've said, you know what, I understand you're being this way because you want, you know, us to be safe, things of that nature. But my thing is,
girl,
why keep asking me to drive? Why keep asking me to drive, right? You want me to accept him talking about the driving.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just not?
Because he as a man, he don't like to drive, and you have accepted that. You have accepted that he don't like to drive.
Listen,
And
sound
so
like y'all
it's a
just need
give
to
and
stay at
take
the house.
on both.
Y'all need to Uber then.
No, I think I have to grow, and he has to grow too.
Yeah, but I'm gonna answer the question. I'm gonna answer the question like this. Like, thank you for the context.
Yeah,
so, Real Precious has a point. When you say something like, "You know what, babe, you're right. My apologies for driving how I'm driving. I'm gonna do better." Something to that the vernacular, right? It puts him at it's interesting that doesn't put him in a different disposition.
In that situation, in that argument about the driving, yeah, it did.
Exactly.
You know,
so
right. But the next time that I drove, we had the same thing. The same thing happened.
You should have did the exact same thing.
And then so now, if that's the case, then I feel like he should say, you know, if I want her to drive different, because when he does that, it gives me more anxiety when I'm driving. Now I'm trying to make sure that I'm driving, and I don't feel like I should have to feel that way. It's like, no, you know, you should be able to talk to me in a way that, hey, you know, I see that you always move to the left a little bit, you know, maybe let's focus on that, you know, but you getting on me about driving just makes me more anxious when I drive.
Did you give him that example? Did you give him that example, babe? Can you just talk to me a little bit differently? Because I get anxiety when you talk to me like that. Like, I want to drive well. I understand that you don't want to drive and you prefer that I drive. So I'm doing the best that I can, right? And then when you give me these particular things that you're saying that I'm doing wrong, it causes anxiety for me. So if you could help me, I would definitely appreciate that. Do you come from that?
and this is not like an argument that we're having.
I know. I'm just using like this as a context. I'm just using this as a footprint for any other thing. Like, for example, my wife, Kendra, she has, I can't even remember. She may have yelled at me once, maybe. I don't even remember, right? But when she talked to me, I'll give you my example. We were supposed to talk to my kids together about something that they were supposed to do and didn't do. And I took it up on myself to talk to them without her, right? And I'm talking about it didn't happen nothing but like 20 minutes after she had told me we're going to talk to them together, right? And I'm like, when she told me, you know, we were supposed to talk to them together, right? I said, you sure enough, right? My bad. I'm so sorry. You know what? I don't have no rebuttals.
See, that's you. I'm talking about men.
Have you ever seen me though?
Wouldn't say that.
Have you ever seen me on any of these channels? I'm not that guy.
No, I'm saying not. I'm saying that's you. I'm saying that humble dad, you have more, you know, intelligence to know, not intelligence, because, you know, men are intelligent.
Well, I am
but-
more intelligent than most guys. That's a fact.
Okay, we can go there too. You know, we can say that. But you know, most men are in tune with themselves that way to say, you know, I'm sorry. Some men will say, I know we were supposed to talk to them together. Next time, okay. You know, or some men will be like, it was just, you know, one situation. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it the next time I talk to them. You know, so men are different in that aspect. So I don't think, you know, because I do know my boyfriend, I don't think he's going to be any different because
I wasn't saying it from your boyfriend's position. I was saying it from your position. I'm saying, even though I'm a man, I'm saying this is how I spoke to my wife, and she didn't raise her voice at me or anything. She was telling me she was displeased with what I did in a polite way, that I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. So my response went to how she typically responds to me. And so that goes to what Real Precious is saying.
No, we got to get to the main topic too, y'all.
My bad. Real Precious was saying that that you teach your man how to communicate with you. Is that right, Real Precious? You were trying to communicate. So that's what I'm saying. Because she talked to me several times in a very feminine position, if you will, I internalized that and said, okay, I respond the same way, as opposed to justifying my behavior. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying there are some men that does not react that way. And so you have to know how to, you know, navigate those situations as well, because, you know, some men don't know how to react that way. And I don't think he's going to change to that. He has road rage with other people on the road, and I have to tell him to calm down, give them grace. He don't even give them grace. I'm like, give him grace. Maybe something happened. It's an accident, you know. How could it have been an accident? It was an accident, you know. So I just think
I will also add in just really briefly before JR changes the subject. I do think that once we're in relationships with men, we get real comfortable with them, and so we don't care to filter how we speak to them. And so when we have an issue, we're coming at them full of emotion, and he should just understand, because the problem was caused for whatever contribution he made, and he should just understand why you're frustrated, because he is my man, and you know, we don't have that imminent fear that he's going to, you know, react a certain type of way. And I think that does prohibit them from communicating with us the way that we need it to get across.
All right, let me go ahead and get to this main topic. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Main topic this evening is why marriages fail. I do have a clip to play with this.
Every couple that's struggling, marriages don't grow apart. Here's what happens is you don't have the courage to have the conversation that you need to have. I don't care who you marry. There are some things in that person that are not great. And I have them. Your mom has them. Tammy has them. And we have to deal with those things. And I think that marriages don't die just because of adultery or drug addiction. Most marriages die because of 1,000 paper cuts. And these just little wounds. And what happens is you start to, you really start to be embittered towards your spouse. Because you didn't have the conversation to say, okay, we're going to talk about this. I don't like this. And I've had to learn to say this to your mom. I don't like it when you do, and I say this. And I'm careful not to say I don't like you. You're a bad person, but I don't like it when you do this.
All right, why marriages fail. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Go ahead, Precious. What are your thoughts about what he said?
I agree. I say this all the time. We got to have hot conversations, honest, open, and transparent. And it's important. It's just important to communicate. It's important to get those things out. And I think a lot of people are fearful of the emotions that are going to come out, but you got to let that flow too. You got to let that flow too. You have to be vulnerable with your spouse. That's almost a prerequisite of marriage. Vulnerability, being honest and open with them. Because if you're not going to be honest and open with them, why be with them? If you're not going to be honest with how you're feeling, what you're thinking. And I don't mean you have to say everything that you're thinking or whatever the case may be, but the important things need to come out. The things that keep you up at night need to come out. The things that keep you eating tubs of ice cream in the middle of the night while he sleep need to come out. Those things need to come out, because if they don't, like he said, you'll get 1,000 little cuts, and then you'll say, oh, well, he never talked to me about this, or we never had this conversation, or I don't know. And those are the worst things to have in a relationship, not knowing or not knowing. And when I say not knowing, I mean not knowing where you stand, meaning you're not getting enough information to be on the same playing level when it comes to emotions. You're not going to always be on the same playing level, but you should still be in the same book. You shouldn't be on different chapters. You should still be in the same chapter in the same book. And I think that when people start having these conversations, I always say you have to get creative with communication. Whether you start writing it down, whether you got sticks in a jar that you pick out and you got questions, you have to be creative. I used to do that for date night, just sticks, just pick them out. All right, this is what we're doing. You got to be creative with stuff like that, because it can become monotonous. You can, you're with somebody year after year after year after year, and you think you know them, and you really don't. I saw something, a guy said he was married for 28 years. After the first year, he knew it wasn't going to work, but he tried to stick it out anyway for 28 years after that first year. And that comes with a lot of conversations that are not being had, and really getting to the other side of the conversation too. We can have the conversations, but are we really forgiving? Like Humble Dad said, are we really saying, you know what? Let me let it go. A lot of people, I always say forgive and forget. That's my saying. A lot of people say, oh no, I'm gonna forgive, but I ain't gonna forget. Well, are you really forgiving if you're not forgetting about it? Are you really, like, you really have to train yourself to do that? Because if not, again, it takes up spaces and places in your mind that your thoughts shouldn't be wrestling with. You shouldn't be wrestling with certain thoughts. And if you have someone that you're married to and you're wrestling with these thoughts and you're not being honest, open, and transparent with them, it is going to fail. Communication is the boat that keeps the marriage afloat.
All right. Go ahead, Paradise.
This ain't gonna be popular, but I'm gonna say it. Have y'all ever actually been around people who are going through like a difficult time in their marriage? They don't withhold back what they thinking. I've seen it up close and personal. The way they talk to each other, they have a clear distinction of how they feel about one another, and they know what the problem is, and they don't mind saying it around anybody. And even like when you hear men talk, they always say, like, if you get around white men, they have no problem telling you how much they hate their wife. I don't know too many married people, me personally. I don't know too many who are walking around on eggshells, holding their tongue, biting it, not telling their partner, I don't like this, I don't like that. As much as we practice and preach forgiveness, this the part that you may not agree with. A lot of this don't have to be a lot of, that's just how he is. I ain't gonna worry about it. I ain't even gonna pay that no mind. And until we start looking at it like that, like, oh, you having one of your moments, I'm gonna just let you have your little fit and go on about my business. A lot of this stuff, you're really just hammering a dead nail. It ain't that much talking in the world. Communication is only 7% verbal. So you just said everything you need to say. It's a lot of, mannerisms and body language that go into a lot of this, while we're harping on communication. Because I can tell you this, as women, we say we communicate so well. We say we vocalize so well. But I promise you, we say a whole lot of nothing and still men can't understand us. So at the basis of it, it comes at paying attention to your partner, allowing them the opportunity to be themselves in the rough patches too. Because a lot of this is really not just, communication. A lot of this is conflict resolution. We done talked a lot, but we ain't got to no resolution to none of these problems.
All right. Go ahead, Balance.
Okay. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I think marriages fell for the same reason businesses fell. Like, there was no business plan. You hired wrong. You got the wrong mindset. You're not flexible. it's so many things that a marriage is a business. I know we hate talking like that, but it is. So I think you guys weren't on par from the beginning. I feel most of them fail before they even start. So even before they got into the marriage, there was no business plan. Why are we getting married? What's the purpose? Because you're good looking? Because I want to have sex with you? Like, why are we getting married? Like, people, they don't have a plan. They're like, I like you today, so let's do this. And then 5 years later, they don't like each other. They don't even know each other. So it's very odd to me that people do it so loosely. Just like a business plan, I'm going to hire correctly. I'm going to vet correctly. We're going to have a plan. We're going to have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. What is the ultimate goal? And our goals should be the same. So we can't have my 5-year goal going that way, your 5-year goal going the opposite direction. And we see that a lot as well. A lot of times they don't even want the same things. And then I keep saying, vet appropriately. People keep skipping that step. And then they're like, it'll work itself out in marriage. It never does. It never does. So, I mean, that's the short version of the answer. I'm going to leave it right there.
All right. Ink, what are your thoughts about it, sir?
I mean, I gotta agree with what Balance said. I mean, most times you people don't have a plan. It's sad, but it is what it is now. You know, if they do it again, more than likely their plan will be totally different because they done went there and done that. Most times the second time around is like they're more successful because now they realize, yeah, I should have had a better plan. I should have had more understanding. I shouldn't have just did it just because I got the woman pregnant means I need to marry her. No. I still should have had a plan, even though we put ourselves in this situation. I still should have a plan. And when you know, as I say, you don't plan to fail, you fail to plan. So I agree with you, Balance. Right on.
All right, go ahead, Penny.
I think I would like to say that I think it fails because people have too many options. Because I was trying to think of a main reason of why marriages fail, but then thinking about Beyonce's mom that's getting a divorce from her husband after, all this time, I'm thinking, at this age, they should know what the plan is. They should know, how to communicate. They should know some of these things, but nowadays she has that option to live single and be happy and do whatever she wants to do because she's Beyonce's mom, but other people feel like they have that option too. So I think just in life people have other options to do other things and that they think is better than being married. And so with that option, people choose not to be in a marriage anymore, or they get married for the wrong reason, saying if I would like to sleep with this person, because I am, because she is Beyonce's mom, for her to just be shacking up with this man, it wouldn't look good. So she would have to be married to this man to be shacking up with this man. So they get married, just to have that life for a short period of time. So I think people are just getting married, to have a sort of life for a short period of time, and they're not thinking about it being that long term, and they have too many options to make it short.
Okay.
When you say too many options, I don't know what you mean when you say too many options.
Like options in life, like if you're at a certain age and you want to have kids, so you say, I want to have a husband, I want to have kids. You get married for a little while, the kids grow up, they move out the house. Now you may want to, just travel by yourself. You decide you have that option to do so. I don't want to be married anymore. I just want to travel. So I'm going to divorce my husband. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want that married life anymore. So I'm going to just travel. It's accepted. People are okay with me doing it. I have that option to do so. I have the money to do so. So why not?
Yeah, we need to bring shaming back. We need to bring shaming back because that's a sad, selfish mindset. That's just exactly what it.
Because when you think about all the marriages that have ended, the women have been saying that, like, Tia Mowry, she's been saying that, Megan Good, they ended their marriage, So people just have other
These
options.
are some selfish ass heifers. Those examples are some selfish ass heifers. And unfortunately, a lot of these young ladies are looking up to these sad sack of shits and mimicking and try to do the same thing where they shouldn't be. Even though they supposedly have all these options. And when we say option, we really mean money. That's what you really mean when you say options. Let's just keep it real. Half of these motherfuckers are broke. Can't afford to really be out on their own. But yet they won't do it just because the seasons change and I'm ready to move on and flex my options that I really don't have. But now you're going to break up your family. Now you're going to have your son without his father. You're going to have your daughter without his father. That makes no sense to me.
And broke people have different options. They think they have options, but their options
No,
are
broke people
different.
ain't got no different options.
Well, she'll say, a woman could say, if she doesn't have money, she can say, I'll find another man who does, or a man who has more. And she'll break up her marriage to try and find someone who has more.
Hey, shout out to all these selfish ass heifers. I hope you die in a painful death.
What?
All right, let me go ahead and get the humble dad. What are your thoughts about it, sir? Why marriages fail?
Marriages fail because they don't see it as a covenant. You know what I'm saying? They see it as a business and not a. I mean, Balance said that it's a business, but it's not. It's a covenant because marriage is designed by God. You know what I'm saying? And so you're making a covenant to God to say that you will love and respect this person to death do you part, through thick and thin, for better or worse, richer or poor. You know, the lady didn't want to say obey. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody's seen that go viral. You know, so that I think that's the main reason people don't see it as a covenant. And even when you step outside the marriage, that means you didn't see it as a covenant. The number one reason that it says from divorce.com is financial reasons. Is number one, and then close behind it is infidelity. Now, as it relates to the financial troubles, that means that the woman felt a way about how the man may have been spending money or how he's making his money, or he may have lost it or whatnot. I'm just guessing, right? Because the stats on divorcerate.com says that women are the ones that initiate and file for divorce at 70% out of the 100%. So, and that being the number one reason, then I would imagine that it's because the man is not making the money that she would like for him to make. And then you talk about in the community of our community, it's what was it? It's extremely bad. So I would say the reason, number one reason, is not they're not a covenant. They don't look at it as a covenant. They look at it as a contract, and contracts can be broken, right? So that's the number one reason. To get around that, as I stated before, I think people need to understand that marriage is divinely put together. God, what he did was he said he wanted to make a man, and then he wanted him to have a helpmeet, right? And then because of that, she was a helpmeet, and then they fell. And so it's continuing the same spiral effect as we see it now in today's time. That when and it says in the Bible that women would want to trump the man, and that's what you see: women wanting to be the man and not necessarily be submissive to the man. So those are the connections that I see of why marriages fail. The reason why marriages succeed, though, is because of them communicating and being honest and open about what it is that's said. Women being okay with the hard conversation, men being okay with the hard conversation, and both people being accountable to God and each other. I think those are the ones that are successful. Date nights work, and also intimacy is a dope thing. If you have a healthy sex life, I don't see how you're gonna have a problem with your marriage. That's just my take on it.
I want to add on to what Humble Dad said, because I believe in covenants, I believe in vows, and a lot of times you forget what a vow is, right? It's a bond, right? You're bonded together by your words. You vow these things. And I know a marriage is a contract. You have to sign a marriage contract to be married. So that's a business contract, whether we want to call it that or not. So it's both. I don't want it to be like, oh, it has to be either or. It's both. So I want to say, like, it's the business side of the contract, and it's the covenant, and it is the vow that you gave with your words. Now, some people are good with business contracts, but they're not good with keeping their words. They can't keep their words to anybody and anything, not even to themselves. So you have to be able to do both. And if you vow something to someone, keep it. And that's why in the beginning I said, hey, if you made that vow to that person and then you broke it, don't try to come and do the same thing to me, because I'm not for it. So yeah, you have to be a person of integrity and character in order to keep your word, in order to keep your vow to anything and anyone. So it starts with the person that you are first before you vow yourself to anybody or anything else. So I just want to add that. That's all.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think you have to mentally be prepared before taking, because it's a big deal. And I don't think people realize how much of a big deal it is. I mean, even when it comes to who you choose to have your children with, both men and women. You know, I think we have to pay attention to who we're going to marry, and also consider who we having our kids with. I think it has to be understanding of how important it is. I mean, it is a legal contract, but if you got the goal that it's going to work, then you don't have to worry about like what happens in divorce, because you make sure that when you step up to this plate that you are going to see it through no matter what. I mean, that's the goal. Of course, you can't control everybody on both sides, but you're just hoping for the best. But it could be a win-win. I mean, if you guys are happily and successfully married, there are some benefits to it when it comes to the legal aspect of it. So, and communication, I think people think it's a fairy tale. I think people focus more on the ideal of the wedding and the outcome. But once everybody goes home and everybody's cleaning up, it's a different ball game. After the honeymoon is over, that's when the challenges start coming. Because if you think about up until the marriage, you guys are thinking about the outcome of the wedding, but you have to also consider what happiness is going to look like for the rest of your life. So marriage is a big deal. I think we got to get educated. We got to ask the right questions. We got to know what we're getting ourselves into, because some people didn't have that example. Some people don't know. Some people just hopping into a marriage, and I don't think they understand how it affects everyone, how it affects the kids, how it affects you. You know, you can be on your purpose and then be stressed out because the woman that you vetted and chose is more of a headache, and you had no idea that it'd be that way. And then you feel stuck. So it's not easy. Just make sure that you come in with the understanding of we're going to work it out no matter what. I think the mindset and like everything on the front end is important. And if you focus more on that, then I think 9 times out of 10, you will have a better outcome, or you have the desire to, no matter what happens, we're going to fix it and work it out. So let's have more successful marriages and not failed marriages. I do agree with Humble Dad. When you tied in to something, then you may take it a little bit more serious than just to be in a marriage. So to each his own. We're going to get to these super chats real quick. Dedicated to my children's future. 20 hours member said, just showing my respect to the panelists and the chat. I always appreciate this show for its relaxing conversations, even when there are disagreements for the most part. Sunday energy, y'all. Right on, big bro. Like Hank say. SB, what's going on, security boss? $5 says marriages fail when one or both get selfish. That is true. That is true. Become one. So I want to thank everybody that has contributed to the platform. I want to thank all the panelists. Let's make sure we follow each other on our individual platforms and support each other. The people that fell off, Humble Dad, thanks for coming in, sharing your wisdom, brother. And happy belated birthday to Humble Dad, too. His birthday was Saturday. So y'all make sure y'all show him some love.
Happy birthday to. We should have sung to him while he was on the panel.
I didn't think about it until closing. I mean, I was just engaged and listening to what you guys were saying at the topic at hand. But let's make sure
Happy
you
birthday, humble dad.
Instagram and wish them happy birthday, Cash App them. You know, it's always good to show people love, especially on their born day. And happy belated birthday to Penny too. I think it was last weekend. We can't hear you on mute.
It was on the 20th.
On the 20th. So
happy belated.
happy belated birthday to you as well. And then whoever else is celebrating a birthday. Shout out to all my green gang dedicated to my children's future. Tay Biz TV, Marquise Keys, Torrance Moore, Sugar Curls. I make sure y'all copy y'all some Sugar Curls. I think she was trying to reach out to you. Did she get to you?
No, not as of yet.
Okay, yeah. Check your DMs.
Okay.
Janessin for more. Just trying to shout out some of my green gang. Appreciate you guys for showing up every month as usual. But we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man. It was a great show. Was it calm balance? It was decent today. I see you kind of took off cam a little bit.
No, I'm multitasking, but it was very calm. If we're gonna do it early next Sunday, give me advance notice.
Okay. Yeah, I mean I'll probably do that. I think the 3 is a little. I think 3 might be a good spot. I was trying that 2:30 and yeah, I just go ahead and do it for 3. All right, y'all got anything else y'all want to add? Y'all good? Get up out of here. Anybody need to contact HR for anything?
Not today. Good to see you, Precious. I haven't seen you in a minute, girl.
I know it's been so long. Good to see you too, love.
Okay.
Hey, she's big. Hey, Balance. She's big time. That's all it is. She's big time. You know, I get it. I get it all the time on Mondays. I get big time. You know,
check us out tomorrow. Hank will be on the channel from.
I still got love for Precious, but she big time me every once in a while.
No, I'm regular.
All right, y'all. Catch y'all on the other side, man. See y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all evening. Thank you, guys. Hit that like button, information, subscribe to the channel, family. We out.